Yeah, sorry about that, guys. I got a phone call and I thought I had put my thing on mute and I didn't. And yeah, so we gotta just make sure this is right. Let me do this. Okay. Sorry about that. Come on back in. 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 We were just live and I got kicked off because of a phone call. Yeah. Let me drop the link. Let me just say this, guys. If you're gonna come on the live, I need you to watch your language. No cursing, please. No cursing. So let's just make sure we're respectful on that. Let me drop this link, and we're gonna go ahead. I'm gonna post the link in the comments, and yeah. So the link is there. So our conversation is, well, it went into a lot of different directions, but waiting for Truth Teacher to come back in. And our conversation is fashion, Cool Herc, Mario, Cool Herc talking about he was a hick, all of this kind of stuff. We're just kind of talking right now. But I wanna give it back to Truth Teacher to sort of recap. We just did almost an hour live, and I just got kicked off of it. So um, yeah, we'll figure that out. But let some people get back in here. I got till about 4 o'clock. Peace, brother. Sinex Scrap, what's up, man? The link is in the chat, and I'm just waiting for Truth Teacher to come back in. Okay, let me just reach out to him real quick. Okay, let me see who's here. Okay, I want to wait until Truth Teacher comes in. Ivan, I see you. I just want to wait until Truth Teacher comes back in because it's his show. So let me just wait for him to come back in. All right, just going to wait for Truth Teacher to come back in. We're going to recap where we were discussing. And okay, let me let Truth Teacher come back in. And anybody else that wants to come in, give us a minute. We see you in the background. Just come on in. The link is there. So, Truth, let's just recap. We're talking about Cool Herc and how, I titled this, Cool Herc says he's a hick. And, the backstory to that is that he claims, well, when he came here, he was wearing cowboy boots and he was being made fun of. And then I made a video about Mario and, showing how they said, well, Mario was, you know, pointy shoes too. I mean, so the point was really none of that matters when we're talking about um, you know, fashion in New York, when we're talking about the history of this culture. So let's try, if we're going to get in this conversation, let's try to stay laser focused on what it is we're talking about. And what we're talking about today is really how there cannot be just one cultural group of people that create everything within the Bronx in New York and hip hop. That
Exactly.
includes fashion. That includes, whatever that might include. We want to address that as to why that's an impossibility. Not why we think it's false. But why is that? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, but why you think that's an impossibility? That's what we want to talk about. Not because we think it's false, but why is that an impossibility? So I'm gonna bring in. There's somebody in the back room. Again, let's make sure that we're keeping our language in check. And so, Marcel, is that your boy's name?
Yeah, yeah. I think he jumped out. Is he still in the
Okay.
back?
No, he's not. He's not. So I'm gonna bring Ivan in. Let me just add Ivan.
Where's
All right,
Randy?
Ivan. Ivan, you're huh?
Randy's not back there too?
No, he's not back there. Okay, so Ivan is in again. Let's be respectful. No language, guys.
Yeah, I'm
Nobody's.
not gonna be here for long, Dr. Cologne. Like I said, I'll be looking at all channels, even yours, because I'm from the Bronx too. But I was born in the '90s, so I'll be trying to
Awesome.
learn my, my history through y'all.
Hmm.
The only thing that I can say about I'll be going into Black American spaces, and I think they too. I think they have some truth, but they too leaning one way. Meaning, like they will say, "Yo, the Puerto Ricans used to diss us," but they keep forgetting that not all Black Americans was into hip hop culture either. They was into jazz. So
Hmm.
just as his Caribbeans was just as loving it just as much as they was, and they picked it up. And
Hmm.
I think the young generation that's 20 and under, they keep forgetting that side of the story, which is very important. I think they keep doing that over and over again because they even Black Americans that was adult back in the day. They were like, "Yo, don't play that music, don't be into that music." As much as adult Puerto Ricans and as much as adult Caribbeans was like that too. And even Charlie Rock, like I said, it's not only one sided. Even Charlie Rock was saying that he was into the Latin songs that he used to go to Latin groups and dance with them. So I think people just keep going one sided. And the reason why I can't accept that narrative because I'm from the Bronx and I be telling people all the time, like, yo, we was really, really close. Even Black Americans from my generation, that Nas, Jay Z, they talk about Caribbeans every day and they music because that's what they grew up with all the time. Even Big Pun talks about, Black Americans as well. So it's just back and forth because that's the Bronx culture. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Hmm.
So that's all I'm saying. You can hear it in our artists' songs. Like
Hmm. Hmm.
JC said, Dominicans, Cubans, all the Puerto Ricans, all the plugs that I know. Like, I mean, you can just go to the greats of, you know what I mean? But like I said, I digress, man. Y'all keep doing. I'm still doing my research. Nothing before I go. I did travel to
Hmm.
different states. Black American, they have a hard time accepting this because it was another Black American gentleman that came on the panel. He agreed with me, and he was from Baltimore. Black Americans
Hmm.
are not all the same. Like I'm half Dominican and half Honduran. We not all the same either. There's some racist Dominicans. There's some like Dominican for the brothers. There's some Dominican from the country that's different from Dominicans in the city. So the only thing I'm saying that it's not all the same. Like I can relate more to a New York Rican more than
Hmm.
anything. It doesn't matter the color of their skin because of our culture. So that's why a lot of
Hmm.
people have a hard time understanding. And then even Black Americans did not create English, and English is part of the hip hop culture because they
Hmm.
want to be. They was here to the Aboriginals. Y'all was not speaking
Hmm.
English. That's the history that I
Hmm.
do know. So English, basically, white people came and also put their print because that's the language we express ourselves to the culture.
Right.
If you want to be
Hmm.
correct, so that's all I'm saying. But y'all do. I'm still doing my research. I'm still trying to learn. And but
Hmm.
yeah, they too one sided to me. I think they do have some good information, but they're too one sided. That's it. Y'all keep doing y'all work.
Yeah,
I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much for coming in,
You're
man.
welcome.
Peace.
he brought up some really important facts there. I mean, look, you have people talking, oh, well, Puerto Ricans and blacks didn't get, they said this. Do all black people get along with other black people?
Hmm. Hmm.
Do all West Indians get along with other West Indian people? We
Hmm.
got rivalries amongst each other. We
Hmm.
got rivalries between Jamaicans and Trinidadians because we took the two largest English speaking islands in the Caribbean.
Hmm.
And then the
Hmm.
smaller English speaking islands, they got
Hmm.
a little bit of rivalry with us because, we the big dogs are here and they're the little ones, so they feel some kind of way about that. We have, which was news to me that there's some kind of friction between Haitians and Jamaicans, but that was never my experience,
Hmm.
growing up. But,
Hmm.
like there's frictions between Puerto Ricans and Dominicans.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Right.
so what's your point?
Right.
Everybody.
Let's regroup. Let's regroup. Let's go back to because I'm going to probably have to get rid of that other live. This will just be the live, right? So talk to us a little bit about. Let's reel it back in because I want to stick to the subject.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking about how you had responded. Let's start here.
Yeah.
You responded, if you can remember, you responded to, I believe it was Isaiah White,
Mm-hmm.
and you responded with a long text of information about
a bunch of stuff. I don't know if you remember what you said, but try to remember just going, what was the context behind that response? What was he saying, and why did you respond?
Okay, so the context behind that was, this whole thing about DJ Mario assimilating to Bronx culture, and he was saying he was still assimilating to Black American culture. Well, here's the thing. He assimilated into an urban culture. And everybody that came up from the islands or whatever, we assimilated to an urban culture. So whether you were Jamaican or Puerto Rican, or you were from the South, it was a different way of life. So yeah, we had to assimilate to an urban New York culture. It wasn't the same. Now, as far as the clothes are concerned, right? And I said that, like, hey, I grew up in Jamaica. We wasn't wearing no cowboy boots, which is not quite true, but I'm gonna put it in context. So for the most part, Jamaicans, we were wearing the same things that Americans were wearing. One exception, certain items was kind of hard for us to get a hold of, like sneakers. Because at that point, Jamaica was under a heavy embargo from the United States because they didn't like the fact that we wouldn't cut diplomatic ties with Cuba. And the fact of the matter is that Jamaicans are very close in certain ways to Cuba because we've got family connections. So I used to get sneakers because my mom would send them down. My grandmother would trace out my foot on the cardboard, send it up to my mom's, and she'd send down the right size. But the other thing about Jamaica is it's what I call the barefoot culture, meaning that we wear shoes for formal occasions, formal places. So if you're going to school, if you're going to church, if you're going to the supermarket, when you're going in formal places in public, you wear shoes. And because sneakers is something that's hard to get a hold of, really, we were wearing dress shoes mostly, But when you come home, you kick off your shoes, you put them in the house because you got to keep them clean, and you run outside and you play barefoot. That's what we did. I remember one time, and I said, where I grew up in Jamaica, Rollington Town. So you all can search it on Google Maps. And then Harborview, which was a newer town. It was only 10 years old when I moved in there. And we had a shopping center in the middle of town. And I remember my grandmom sent me to the store one time, to the supermarket. They wouldn't let me in because I was barefoot. I didn't want to I was playing with my friends and I wanted to get back to playing with my friends. So I didn't want to take the time to go in and put on shoes. So I went barefoot. They would not let me in the store without shoes. I had to come home, put on my shoes, and then go back. So that's the way we roll, Now for Herc, I don't know why he showed up wearing cowboy boots, but here's the thing. Did we wear cowboy boots? Yes, we did. But here's the thing. African Americans was wearing cowboy boots too in the 70s, right? when you got dressed up and you're going out, you would wear boots. A lot of people wore boots, cowboy boots, but you put your big bell bottoms over it, so it's not like you tuck in the pants in the boot, you know. So I don't know, like Herc, maybe, you know, he was a kid, he was coming from a poorer side of Kingston. Maybe he wanted to be different because, you know, having boots, I mean, like having dress shoes, that's a big deal, right? That's formal. But boots, come on, man, that's some fancy stuff, you know? So maybe he wanted to show off his boots. And he came and he probably had his pants pushed down in the boots and you show up to school. Well, that's kind of weird, you know, in an urban culture where we don't go to school wearing uniforms, right? So, yeah, there's a little cultural fashion misstep there. But make no doubt about it, the fashions that we were wearing were coming out of Italy. Okay, Italian designers, and it was influenced by what was happening in the 60s, the counterculture rebellion against the conformity of the 60s and the 50s. So it was let it all hang out, let it loose. You know, they started experimenting, borrowing clothing items from different cultures. You know, I showed the pictures of my dad and my uncle back in the 60s. This is how men dressed. This was the acceptable dress for men. Formal, conservative. Men, you wouldn't see men wearing no wild colors. That was effeminate. That wasn't manly. That wasn't masculine. Plain white shirt, straight black tie. The hippie culture came in, and these are guys that are experimenting, taking LSD, you know, mind-altering substances. So that's being reflected in the clothing. All these weird, you know, wild colors and bold designs and patterns. You would never see a man in the 50s or the early 60s walking down the street with a floral print shirt.
Yeah.
Or any color.
So let's let Randy get in this conversation. So we're talking about fashion, right? Obviously, we're talking about what Kool Herc was wearing and what he said. That has nothing to do with hip hop. I don't know why they keep bringing that up. So we showed Mario was also wearing, you know, but that's neither here nor there. Both of them assimilated to Bronx, New York culture. You're somebody who is definitely, I consider somebody who is a, you know, somebody who knows hip hop fashion. Talk to us about what's on your mind when it comes to back then, the 80s, whatever. I don't know where you want to go with it.
I mean, what's let's be more specific with the question.
But you came in, you said you wanted to talk about fashion. So talk about fashion.
Okay, well, I mean, what we talk about, Kool Herc, or what are we talking about?
We're talking about so everything. So we're talking about, you know, the idea that they say, well, you know, look at the way Herc was dressing. And then I showed, well, look at the shoes Mario was wearing. What does that have to do with anything? You know, so I don't know what their real premise is behind that the statement. He was dressing like a hillbilly, a hick. How could he influence hip hop? Whatever that means. So that's really the premise of just showing what it was that both of them were wearing and how they both assimilated. And I guess you could start from there. Like, what was the fashion, as far as you know, even before hip hop, the 70s, and then hip hop and into the 80s?
All right, if we talk about Kool Herc, I mean, Kool Herc came here in the 60s as a child. So, you know what I'm saying? He's coming from the Caribbean. He don't know. I mean, he's a kid. You know, you barely had like what 2-3 channels in Jamaica in the 1960s.
We only had one.
One.
It was in black and white.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So you coming here from it. First of all, the Caribbean is hot. People in Jamaica, just like in Puerto Rico, we wear shorts, flip flops, you know, to hang out, or you know, around the house or whatever. Nobody getting dressed up like it's winter time. You know what I'm saying? So he's bringing what he knows. You know what I'm saying? So he's discovering the different seasons here and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And it's the same thing for Southerners. Southerners, you know what I'm saying? It's hot down there too. They don't know what's going on in New York. There's no YouTube. There's no cable television. There's growing up there was like 4 channels in New York. You know what I'm saying? And New York is the mecca. Bro. New York is the mecca. So whoever came here got hip here because they're here, not because they're black or they're whatever. It's New York. You know what I'm saying? You look at the history. You look at the history of the fashion of New York. You can go back to the 1800s with the Irish dandies, right? The Irish dandies are credited as being the fathers of urban chic. You know what I'm saying? Who picks up that Irish dandies is the Sicilians, the Jews. You know what I'm saying? Then later on comes the blacks and the Cubans and the Puerto Ricans into New York, and they take up after those people. You know what I'm saying? Remember, in the South, you couldn't go to an Italian, a European boutique and buy clothes. You get shot at the door. This is Jim Crow. Imagine you go to a European boutique trying to buy, bro. You get shot at the door. They'll smoke you right then and there, but for even stepping on the sidewalk. You know what I'm saying? In New York, those Sicilians, those Jews, those European immigrants that were here already were the ones that let you come in the store, shop in the store, because a lot of them employed you. You know what I'm saying? Try to do that in the South, bro. In the 1920s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. You couldn't even use the same door. You had to go through the back and the side.
And you had to have a certain kind of, a certain amount of income in order to be stylish. So what we're talking about here, it's a difference between rural people and urban people. But it's the urban centers of the North that are always setting the style trends for the whole country. So
yeah,
we're the ones here in New York that we set this. Nobody was looking to Miami for style.
Of course not.
Maybe LA, Chicago, New York. Nobody was looking to, what's hot in Atlanta? Like, who the hell cares what's hot in Atlanta or Chattanooga?
I watch a lot of TCM movies, right? These movies are set in the 1920s, 30s, and 40s and 50s, right? And when they talk about style and fashion and clothing, they're talking about New York, London, Paris. These people are taking trips to Europe just to buy clothes. You know what I'm saying?
Check it out. Look at the Nicholas brothers. What were they wearing?
Suits and shoes.
Tails. Where does that was straight up European, man. Come on. Black tie, tails, white shirt with the bow tie. That was straight up upper class European fashion.
So let me ask you both a question. So when they show and they try to show, let's say they go back because they're trying to make the connection. And when we say they, let's be clear about who we're talking about. We're talking about the FBA fringe group led by Tariq Nasheed. That's who we're talking about when we say they, those who are in this argument. So when we're talking about this, they bring up the style from the black exploitation movies and the fashion, and then they show Willie Colon and Hector Lavoe dressing with the same kind of style, and that it seems so desperate to make a connection when those things have nothing to do with anything that we're talking about when it comes to hip hop. So how do we get around the fact that they continue to say, listen, the fashion in New York was led and spearheaded by African Americans?
I'll let Randy go first. I'll chime in after.
I mean, well, show those fashion pioneers.
And I'm talking about hip hop fashion. So Rand,
Hip hop
take us
fashion.
through
Listen,
hip hop fashion.
Hip hop fashion. There's a guy named Ron La Retro, right? This guy is a urban fashion expert. He has a collection of clothing and clips of newspaper articles. He has articles from the 1960s talking about how in the Lower East Side in the 1960s, Puerto Rican and Black youth created a new trend in styles of dressing. Okay. This is something else that cements us in the mix. And this is the 60s, the late 60s, right? Big up to Ronald Retro, wherever he at. So they're showing you already how, and the thing is, listen to the names of what was wearing in the late 60s, early 70s. Swedish knits, Italian mock necks, gabardine pants, Canadian beaver hats. So nothing of that is FBA.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Wait, I got to interrupt you. I saw an interview. This was recently, maybe 2 weeks ago. John Gotti's son was being interviewed, and the interviewer was saying, "Hey, tell us about your father." And he says, "I want to tell you a story. I remember when my father came home from prison during one of his stints, and he comes to the new neighborhood. We had just moved into the house. He never lived there, so he comes in with his. He was driving a chocolate brown Cadillac, and he rolls up. He gets out, and he looks immaculate. And he has on, to match his brown Cadillac, he has on a chocolate brown mock neck. And when he said that, I'm like, yo, these are the same people that say mock necks come from, this is John Gotti, an Italian, and we know how he feels and how he's felt, who's rocking a mock neck. And so this is what I mean. It's like, when they keep using those kind of those clothes as the barometer for this comes from us. No, it doesn't come from you.
There's no factory that is an FBA clothing line factory that pumps out sneakers, gear, and stuff like that we rock. If anything, in the 90s, when people started coming up with these brands that mimicked other brands, we made fun of them. It was Southern dudes that wore those brands like Mecca and Fat Farm and stuff like that. We thought that was goofy. We didn't wear that. You know what I'm saying? We wore the original stuff. We wore Polo Ralph Lauren. You know what I'm saying? We rocked Nordica. You know what I'm saying? We rocked Tommy Hilfiger. I didn't wear no Mecca or Fat Farm or any of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? That
Take
was for
us through,
outsiders.
Rand, take us through, let's go to the 80s. Let's
Right.
go to hip hop fashion in the 80s. What was being rocked? I know, but just take us through it. What was being rocked and who was rocking it? And of course, we know African Americans were rocking it. The streets were rocking it, but take us through that.
Well, what year in the 80s you talk about?
Let's go 81 to 85.
81, 85. If 81, we still rocking the Taylorwoods, Jordache, Sergio Valentes, Sassoon, the blue jean era. You know what I'm saying?
With the
British
short
Walkers.
down the leg.
Yeah. British Walkers. You still rocking mock necks. You rocking a nameplate buckle. You know what I'm saying? Kangol, fisherman hats. You know what I mean? All that.
Now we got the era of the Godfather hats.
That
Me and
goes
you
for the
have talked.
70s.
Yeah, that's the 70s.
But we've talked. I know it's from the 70s, but we talked about in the 80s, and you've talked about from the 70s into the 80s how there were certain crews that were rocking the Godfather hats, and how I don't know if you said this as a definite, but the possibility of, because the only people that I saw rocking the Godfather hats were Puerto Rican dudes, and then I saw Run DMC. And so
Right.
I'm
Well,
wondering where'd they get that from? Who came up? Who was rocking that first? I don't know.
to make the distinction, Run DMC rocked fedoras.
Mm,
In the Bronx, Rockwell Association, the Rockwell Brothers, they rocked the Godfather hats, the Homburg, right?
okay.
And they
Okay.
rocked it. They rocked it with Adidas suits. You know what I'm saying? Which is after see Run DMC forever, all these years, it may not look like a thing, but in 1981, 82, 83, 84, that was a very distinct look.
But they didn't come
Okay?
up with that.
To
They
the
were
point.
mimicking what we did in the streets. They were reflecting
Right,
what we
right,
did
right, right, right.
in the streets.
Run DMC were trying to look like the drug dealers from Hollis and what they saw in the Bronx when they came up to the Fever. Because when they came to the Fever, they didn't dress like that.
No.
They saw the kids at the Fever how they was dressed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let me speak to the chat real
They weren't
quick.
dressing like
Listen,
that. They didn't show up in the Bronx.
let me speak to the chat real quick. If anybody wants to get in, the link is in the chat. So be sure if you want to get in, again, keep it respectful. We're open to, open dialogue. But if you want to get in, come on in. Go ahead, bro. Continue.
Speaking of hip hop fashion, can we talk just a little bit like what a lot of the early rappers were actually wearing? And what they were inspired by? They was wearing, like they were trying to copy like the R&B bands and stuff like that, and the rock and roll bands with the spikes and the chains and the furry collars and like Earth, Wind and Fire. When you look at those early albums, you're like, what the hell is
They were touring with them. You got to remember. Look, you got to remember, right? In the early days of rap music, rap didn't have a lane. They had to piggyback on funk and R&B bands and even punk bands. They were the opening acts. There was no rap concerts. You know what I'm saying? For you to see a hip hop show, you had to go to a nightclub, or you catch them at the jam. There was no rap concerts. That doesn't come till later, so after like the Beat Street era, during the Fresh Fest. You know what I'm saying? And you see how they were dressed there. They weren't dressing with none of that stuff. So they were mimicking like Rick James, the Commodores, that kind of stuff, wearing all the leathers and spikes and furs and all that. But once Run DMC comes out, that is gone. You know what I'm saying? Because now the breakdancer, the B-boys in the front and center. You know what I'm saying? So now you have the Fresh Fest, which the main attraction is the dynamic breakers. And this is the first time rap has its own lane, where rap is part of a hip hop tour. You know what I'm saying? Bambaataa did something similar, right? Before that in Europe with the I forgot the name of his tour right now. The Kitchen Tour. Right? He took Grand Mix DST, the Rock City Crew, Phase 2, and he had an all around hip hop tour. You know what I'm saying? Going to London and Japan and all the stuff. But before that, rappers didn't have a lane. Rappers had to open up for punk bands. Imagine that.
Yeah, so you got to dress according to the expectations of the audience. Back then, nobody want to come and see you wearing sneakers and jeans and a t-shirt. They look
that was not the thing. That was not the thing. That was not the thing. That's when rappers started emulating drug dealers. Rappers started trying to look like drug dealers with the big fat rope chains and the custom suits and all that. That came after, like in the mid to late 80s. I'm saying, you see Eric B. and Rakim with all the drug dealers in the back of the cover. I'm saying, hanging out with the original 50 Cent and Killer Ben and all these dudes from Brooklyn. You know what I mean? So they was trying to like imitate that look.
Yeah, I remember when I was in school, I had just moved to Rochester. Sugar Hill Gang had just come out, and they were coming to concert, and I remember the next day asking, because some of my friends from the class were gonna go. So I said, "So you went to the concert?" And they were like, "Yeah." I'm like, "So what was it like?" And they were like, "Nah, it was Parliament Funkadelic. It was." I said, "Huh? Who? What do you mean it was Parliament? I thought the Sugar Hill Gang was there." And nah, they opened up for them, but it was really all the bands were funk bands. And I was like, "Oh wow, okay." That was kind of unusual. And then a second time, Africa Bambaataa, Soul Sonic Force came with the Cold Crush, and they were doing their song "The Weekend." They just dropped the song "The Weekend," and they were coming to do a concert. And some of my friends went. I didn't go, but some of them went, and we talked about what it was, and they said we thought they had a band, and I'm like, What do you mean? They said, nah, they were playing on 2 turntables and they were using break beats to rap over. And I was like, yeah, that's what they do. And he's like, I thought they had a band though. We were expecting a band. So you could see that the differentiation was so heavy from other places in New York City, and this lends into the whole narrative that's still being talked about. It was just being talked about last night on a live I was watching, that hip hop in no uncertain terms comes from the South. Speak to this, y'all. Speak to this.
Okay, so when they say hip hop, most likely they're talking about rap. And that's the other thing is like nobody can really come to a consensus about what the hell they mean when they say hip hop. So they're
Hmm.
talking about rap.
Hmm.
Well, where's the rap groups from North Carolina, from
In the
South
beginning.
Carolina, from Texas? Where are they in the 70s?
Hmm.
So if you had all of this going on, where's the B-boys from the Carolinas? You
Well,
got
they say they brought the energy. What they say is they brought the energy from the South and brought it to the Bronx, and then it
okay.
sparked in the
So then
Bronx.
so then what we're talking about here are ingredients.
Hmm.
Okay? So nobody let's be clear here. Nobody is saying that black Americans didn't bring something to the table because if we say that this was a subculture that was created by predominantly these 3 ethnic groups, doesn't it stand to reason that African Americans brought something to the table?
Of course, of
So
course.
of course they have their music and yeah, of course they're coming with all of that. But that's an ingredient. If I
Hmm.
go out and I buy a bag of flour, is that a cake?
Hmm. Right.
No, that's one
Right.
of the ingredients. That's like a very important main ingredient. You can't have a cake without flour.
Hmm.
But flour alone is not a cake. You need water, you need oil, you need eggs, you need sugar, you
Hmm.
need a little bit of salt, some vanilla, some cinnamon, nutmeg. You need to different essences to give that thing flavor. And then you got to put some yeast in it and stick it in the oven, and then
Let
you
me
got a cake.
let me put up Andrina's. Andrina says, she says, no. If you use that logic, then we brought it from the Caribbean. I don't know if she says hides of years ago. It should be many years ago. Okay, so she says, no, if we use that logic, then we brought it from the Caribbean. I'm not sure what she means by that, but maybe she could clarify. I just wanted to put that up. Randy, what are your thoughts on the idea that the energy, the essence, the flavor comes from the South because many of the pioneers are from the South? You there? Rand?
The FBA got them.
I don't know. So I would say if we're going to use that logic, then we have to use the other logic that says then Kool Herc also comes from Jamaica. That he would have brought some energy from. You see what I'm saying? The other
Well,
people come from everywhere.
yeah,
So
I
no,
mean,
it comes from New York. It comes from the Bronx.
from New
it,
York.
it,
This is where it was
it's
all
New
put
York City.
together.
It's not the South. It's not. If anybody else wants to get into the chat, wants to get on, the link is there. Andrina, if you could keep sharing that link, and we can have a discussion. We can have a conversation.
Yo,
If you
Isaiah, you in there? Why don't you jump in and let's talk?
Who's that?
Isaiah White.
Oh yeah, if Isaiah White is in, why don't you jump in, Isaiah? You could talk to him
Okay.
directly. You guys have been going back and forth. Why don't you get in? Let's cook. Let's hear your thoughts. And True Teacher can share his thoughts. So Isaiah, if you're in the chat, go ahead and click the link and let's have you on and have a discussion. You and True Teacher discuss this. What are your thoughts? And we'll wait and see what he does if he's in there. The
Listen,
link you gotta just scroll up to the top somewhere, Marcel. It's somewhere.
listen.
Just
like I
watch your
said,
language. Watch your language. Just watch your language, bro. He was
like I
cursing.
said, in the previous life that got cut off.
Yeah.
If you're on this side of the Atlantic, whether you're in the United States or Mexico or South America or the Caribbean, all of our cultures are the result of cross-cultural pollination.
I was gonna say that. That's what I was gonna come in to say that because a lot of people don't even know that like your lineage. Not all Black Americans are Black Americans because we was intertwining. Even if you go back to the Turtle Island theory, so that's what we have. A lot of Caribbeans like myself that look Black American, they can't tell unless you bring them to my house and stuff. Now you find out I'm Caribbean because my mother and father. But once you have daughters, your lineage is kind of done. Whoever like takes over, and then whoever you was born. You know what I mean? So people don't know about lineage too. So a lot of Black Americans that think they're Black American just because of 3 generations before, if they go 5 or 6, they're probably Caribbean themselves, or vice versa, because they was intertwining with each other since the beginning of time. Even
Hmm.
yeah. So that's even if they go back to even Native history. Native will tell you that.
Hmm.
So I don't know why people have another. I think that's another thing that people have a hard time understanding too when it
Hmm.
comes to the even Black Americans. Another thing too that Black Americans get frustrated with Northern Black Americans is that they allow Caribbeans to say the N word. Wait for them. That's just come intertwined with the Bronx culture. You know what I mean? So they get mad at other Black Americans while you allowing Fat Joe to talk this, talking this, dialect, but he did. That's the culture, the reason that the Bronx made. You know what I mean? So that's a I don't know. I'm not gonna go in circles, but yeah, a lot of people don't understand that, man. Like bloodline and lineage are two different things. Like that's why we have similar features to Black Americans, and some Black Americans have similar features to the Caribbeans.
All right.
So
So listen, we got a few people in here. So this is the way we have to do this so we maintain order, right? Um, I'm gonna let thank you for your thoughts, Ivan. I'm gonna let Isaiah go ahead and chop it up with truth.
So
Um,
true.
everybody else, please mute your mics, and then I'm gonna let Marcel get in, and then I'm gonna let what's his name? I'm trying to see his name.
Zero.
Zero. Okay. So Isaiah, the floor is yours. Well, first of all, truth. Did you want to address Isaiah to create a conversation? I'm not sure how you want to do this.
No, I mean, I'll just welcome him first. And first, before we begin, I just want you to understand that I don't have any hatred against Black Americans. Where my gripe is with people who call themselves FBA, for the simple fact of the kind of language that they use towards me and my people, which is xenophobic and hateful. But as far as African Americans are concerned, I have nothing but love and respect for African American people or Black American people, however you want to call them, because I don't evaluate a community by the most dysfunctional elements in the community. And if it wasn't for the blood that African Americans, Black Americans shed and the fight that they went through, I wouldn't be sitting here right now. So I always have that sense of a debt of gratitude and admiration and respect for Black American people. So just understand where I'm coming from. All right. So
Yeah.
you can open the floor.
All
All right.
right.
So
So Isaiah, let me put you on solo. The
yeah.
floor is yours, brother.
Hey. So listen. True teacher. Nice meeting you, my brother. Hey,
Likewise.
all right. So listen. The only thing I don't listen. People are misconstrued about this whole thing with FBA, man. Listen. FBA is just another acronym or another name for Black American. They just put the foundational in Black American to show that we are the foundation to this country. We the ones who our blood, sweat, and tears made this country the way it is. Okay, that's all it is. It's nothing more, not less. People are making a big deal, unnecessary big deal about FBA. Okay, that's just like Puerto Ricans calling themselves Boricua, right? That's another name that a lot of people don't know, right? That Puerto Ricans call themselves, but that's you know what Boricua, it just signifies Borican. That's their country. That's their lineage. That they are from Puerto Rico. Same thing with Black Americans. We are foundational to this country, so we call ourselves FBA now. That's all it is.
Okay,
It's nothing more. It's nothing more, not less.
okay,
It's nothing more. You understand? So what I'm trying to say is, it's like a lot of times when Black Americans try to, feel good about ourselves, right? My people from the South, okay? I'm full-blooded, saying FBA, because I like that name. I love that name because that signifies us better. I don't like African American. I don't like Negro. I don't like African American Negro. I don't like none of the other stuff they call us. I like FBA because it shows who we truly are to this country. All right. I don't have a lot of people who are signifying FBA just feels good about ourselves with that name. We don't hate nobody else. We don't hate Puerto Ricans. We don't hate Dominicans. We don't hate Jamaicans. We love all our brothers in this, and our, we love everybody. We don't hate nobody, but don't disrespect us, because I think this is the time where a lot of people are disrespecting us because of the name FBA. They never heard it. It's new. You just have to get used to it, because every 10, 20, 30 years, they come with a different name for us, Black Americans. They come with a different name. We like FBA, okay? FBA signifies us truly who we are. So why people have such a hard time with FBA? It's just a name for us. That's all it is. It's not a hate group. It's a lineage. It's our lineage, who we are.
Now, wait, Now, wait, I was just responding that Sunday you said that not everybody shared that sentiment the way you shared it, though. Some of them be like, nah, forget y'all. Some of them don't have that relationship that you have with us. You know what I mean? Not all FBA. Some of them are coming up. They're like, yo, you know what I mean? Like in a disrespectful way. It's I guess there's rotten apples in every group. You know what I mean?
No, I understand what you're saying, but that's not me. I'm from the Bronx.
Yeah, I know.
I was born
I
and raised in the
know.
Bronx.
You got love. I know. You just have different opinion. I know you got love for her. I'm just saying that not all. That's a lot of, because I was having a conversation with FBAs yesterday, and not all of them, especially New York, that not Black Americans from New York, don't share the same sentiment. Mostly, I was Southerners that I encounter. You know what I mean? But I'm just saying, like, yeah.
That's
So
fucked
I
up.
feel you, though. I feel you.
That's messed up. I don't like that. I don't co-sign that what they're doing. I don't co-sign that. I co-sign understanding, what FBA is and who we are, but don't, overdo
Like
it.
that's what I'll tell you, Isaiah, because not all that will be telling them too, because a lot of people have an understanding. Not all Caribbeans, even us, feel the same way about y'all either. Some of us love y'all, as you know, of course, and some of them, you know what I mean. But that's the same way with FBA too. Not all circle, and I know there's more Northerners since we among each other, even though we have different ideologies. We kind of cool, you know what I mean. So we cool for the most part. Yeah.
But what I want you to understand is that, for example, me, I got a big mouth, and I'm one of the big mouths out there that be making the distinction between FBA and Black Americans or African Americans. And the reason why I do that is because I'm reacting to the way people who identify themselves as FBA are representing themselves. So you have to understand the situation, how difficult it becomes when you have like a decent person like yourself, but now you go online and you have all these people calling themselves FBA, and they're calling you out your name. They're calling you a tever. They're calling you a booty scratcher. They're calling you an AIDS carrier. They're calling you Latino and spick and all of that. And it's a lot of them. And it's like more often than not.
Yo, I want to hear this shit because I'm tired of this.
So you're gonna judge. You're gonna judge people when you see that name. You're gonna have an automatic reaction because every time you get online, you get
tired of Isaiah.
Say again?
I said I'm tired of you, Isaiah, because you don't know what you're talking about. You're lethally ignorant about Puerto Rican culture. You don't know nothing about Latin culture, and you don't know anything about New Yorkers. Your bigotry is out there. Everyone hears it, and everyone sees it.
You're coming out too strong, brother. Come on. I don't think Isaiah never told you that.
Strong, brother. You don't know what you're talking about.
First of all, who are you?
Okay,
listen, who are you?
Wow, that's one of our groups that's bad apples. But you got FBA like that too. You get what I'm saying? It's like that. It's back and forth. It's like
That's
it's
wild.
like
Where they
that. It's
come
both
from?
sides. It's both
Hold on.
sides.
Wow.
That's why I think when it comes to this history, Isaiah, like I think like I wish some FBA was very honest when it comes to like this some of this history. I understand that we're not gonna see all of it like, but they too one sided, like completely like nah, y'all didn't. You know what I mean? Y'all didn't do
Well,
nothing, and it was not this relationship with the Caribbeans and blacks never existed. It's like
yeah,
yo, come on, bro. Like I can understand, be
listen,
like y'all created, hip hop or whatever. You know what I mean? But some of them
listen.
be don't even want to. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Listen. I give everybody credit for what part they played in hip hop, man. But you know, I still think that Black Americans, FBA created the vibe that we call hip hop. That's my conjecture. Dr. Cologne knows that. Me and Dr. Cologne been debating for years. Dr. Cologne knows
Hold
Exactly.
on
what
one
I
second,
feel.
Isaiah. Hold on
Hmm?
one second. Hold on one second.
Hmm?
Big Dog, go ahead and click the link, man. Big Dog, come on in and click the link. Okay, Isaiah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. Me and Dr. Cologne have a understanding. I respect Dr. Cologne. He's a doctorate, in education. I respect Dr. Cologne. I respect his opinion, but we all have different opinions. It's all about our opinion. You know what?
Right. Right.
Everybody,
Right.
I respect everybody's opinion. But like I said, I respect everybody for what they did in hip hop. It's for everybody now. It don't matter what happened years ago, in my opinion. Right now, it's for everybody. Even the Japanese and Chinese are doing hip hop. So
And I like how you said that though, Isaiah, because even like I say, even I'm sorry for keep interrupting you, but like I always tell people, I'm Honduran, but my tribe is Garifuna tribe, right? And my OG told me, he like, y'all not the same from us when we was younger. Like y'all just a different biracial now, y'all mixing now. It's a different culture now. But we know who the originators in Honduran Garifuna was, the black tribe in that area. You know what I mean? But I basically so I understand where you're coming from, meaning when you say it's like a different now Chinese people, other people getting their hands on it. I just think like well, we can have, like you said, I think we can have a good like you have a good discord. That's why I can always see where you're coming from. Even I agree with majority of your points. You know what I mean? It just when outsiders coming in, you can understand that.
yeah,
Like you said, you can
yeah,
see how the gentleman was acting towards you. They be
yeah,
like, nah, they come with a because they have segregation. Like they don't understand. Like when you leave up north, they
mm,
segregated. We not like that. Like
yeah, yeah,
we not like that. So they do
yeah,
have a hard time understanding. Like
mm,
even like I be telling them like, yo, just listen to our pioneers. Listen to Jay-Z. Listen to Nas. They talk
mm,
about us in a high, and we talk about y'all, like Big
mm,
Pun. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
it's yeah,
yeah.
but that's the hard thing talking to outside of FBA. If you understand what I'm saying,
Yeah. I understand. People not from New York City, not from the Bronx, not from the five boroughs. They wouldn't understand fully. They wouldn't understand fully. You know what I'm saying? Because I was born and raised here. I was born in Misericordia Hospital on 233rd and White Plains Road. You know what I'm saying? I'm all in it. But my people from the South, I can't ever get that twisted. My people from the South, they came up here in the middle '60s. My father was in Vietnam. He came out of Vietnam. All his family was already here already, okay, in the late '60s. But he's a Vietnam. My father, God bless the day, he's a Vietnam vet. He served his country, came up north. He had me, my brother, my sister, and we was all born and raised up here. So we are what's
the
we
first
are the
generation New
ones.
Yorkers, basically.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes,
yes,
exactly.
and
So
something that I think y'all did special. Like I always give Black Americans credit for. It's like y'all, the young youth in hip
mhm,
hop, whoever y'all want to get credit, whoever started, y'all came together. And that started the 70s, the 80s, which my generation, the 90s, thanks to y'all, we're close. Like, I even know
yeah,
Black Americans in the Bronx that speak Spanish better than me. You know what I mean? Like,
Yo,
so, but
peace,
yeah,
peace.
so man, shout out to y'all. But
Let
yeah,
What's
I
me
up,
think
just
true
we
say
do.
teacher?
something. Let me just say
What's up,
something real quick.
everybody?
We got Big Dog in the house. Listen, I'm only able to have 6 people on. So
Hey,
if
Cologne, I can be out of here, man. Keep doing your thing. I'm out of here.
all right, but just stay
Appreciate
in
you.
the live though. Just
good
stay in.
now.
Okay.
All right. Let me add somebody else. Hold on one second.
Ugh,
All right, I'm gonna
you gotta excuse me. I'm
add.
kind of under the weather today.
All right. So Big Dog, what do you want to say, bro? Welcome, man. And
I just got into I just came in. Well, just got on this, so
okay.
was hearing a little bit here and there. I
Hmm.
don't know how old Isaiah is, but
50.
yeah, I'm older than you. So you know, uh, Yeah, you know where Kelly Street is?
You asking me?
Yeah,
Yeah, of course.
off the boulevard,
Off the boulevard, yeah.
right? Heavy savage nomad land.
Hmm.
Okay, when they threw their jams, everybody and their mama was there. Didn't matter what skin color you was.
Okay.
All right, so that adjective of people didn't get along with each other. Like I said, take off the gang politics, right? Because gang politics plays their role, right? But in the South Bronx, we had no choice to live with each other. We were all poor. We were all suffering. You know, we went through the same trials and tribulations, and we always came up together. You know, yes, we did fight each other. Even as kids, we were fighting each other. You know, teenagers and kids, we do what we do. We be stupid. Okay. We can't talk about the older generations, the grandparents, and all that, because the simple fact is that's their way of thinking. Okay. I'll use this for instance, right? When the 50s and 60s was around, when rock and roll really started hitting music, right?
Yeah.
Our grandparents were telling our parents, don't listen to that. That's the devil music. Da 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 da. It's the same way we were coming up when we started listening to what we were listening to, right? And our parents and our grandparents were telling us the same thing. Why are you dressing that way? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Stop listening to that crap. They called the music crap. You know, so every generation goes through this. Okay. What I don't like is the out of state, you know, those who did not grow up the way we grew up, trying to tell us our history. This is our direct New York City history. This is what us as teenagers being rebellious against the system, against our parents, against each other, ended up creating. And it came directly off the 71 peace treaty. And it didn't just happen right there on the spot. It took a few years to come into effect. You know, it'll never come out of my mouth that the rap part of hip hop culture does not come from anywhere else except the black community, right? As rhyming. When it comes to the beats, that's you could take that from both, because there's a lot of Latin percussions in our original, what you would call b-boy music. Okay. Besides James Brown, you had, you know, Apache, which is from, you know, a cover song, which the Incredible Bongo Band did. The cover is an original 1960 slow music rock group from white boys. Incredible Bongo Band put in Latin percussions. Let's not forget the Incredible Bongo Band was led by a white man. Right? We could bring back Inagavita. Okay, Inagavita, right? Incredible Bongo Band. Another cover was a 1969 song, 17 minutes, from a group called Iron Butterfly. And then we could bring in Babe Ruth, which was a British rock band, with the song The Mexican, which had break beats into it, which us as B-boys were dancing to. There were different styles of this. On the Puerto Rican side was the rock dance. On the black side was burning. They pretty much were the same. The thing with the peace treaty, what it did was it opened it up for us so we could venture into everybody else's neighborhoods. You know, those who did sign on to the treaty, because not everybody that was there signed into that treaty, right? The turbans and the javelins, they were at war with each other. They didn't sign into the treaty. You know, so we, you know, the little bits that we were able to travel, especially Kelly Street. Kelly Street was heavy, predominantly blacks, Puerto Ricans. right? When they had their jams on the blocks, it was disco music, it was funk, it was salsa. Guess what? I saw plenty of black motherfuckers dancing salsa.
But
Watch
see,
your
okay,
language,
so
language,
so
language, language,
I'm sorry,
language.
so
about
that's
that.
why I was saying to Doc, you wouldn't like. I asked Dr. Colon a question. I said, okay, you just made a statement there, right? You said
Mhm.
you know a lot of black brothers dancing the salsa, right?
Yeah.
So why wouldn't we say that blacks and Puerto Ricans created salsa,
I can
right?
answer that.
No, but I'm
All
just
right. So
saying,
when it
since he
comes
made
to
a point, hold
so
on.
when it came to
So 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 hold
let
on,
me
hold
get
on.
into that.
So
Let me
hold on.
build off
So
that.
hold on. Let
Mhm.
me ask that correctly. Okay. Since you just stated just now, you said we all live together, right? We all in the same community, right? We all are doing the same things together, right?
Mhm.
We all dancing together. We are listening to the music together. So if we created hip hop together, right? Because
Mhm.
this is what I'm trying to get at. Because you
Hey,
can't say anything.
I heard you bring this question up a while, like last week in the comment section, but I
Yeah.
never got to answer you on that question. So I can
Okay.
answer you that right now, right? Most of the
Okay.
most of the salsa musicians, right? Predominantly Puerto Rican, Panamanian, Cuban, right? Dominicans, right? Um, if if you go further down the boulevard, right? Shoot, where that public school is. Okay. I know Ortiz Funeral Home is right across the street from there.
Okay.
Okay. So this is like right before you hit um you said you from the Bronx, so you know that jail that
Yeah.
they building or they finished building that's over by off the Bruckner, off the Sheridan right now?
Um.
It's like
Or
100 and something street.
is it near the
I mean,
Sheridan?
you could actually drive on the Sheridan and look at it on the right hand side.
Okay. I probably drove by
Yeah.
it many times.
So
Yeah.
that area is where all those old time musicians, Tito Puente, Ray Barretto, right? And others were from. Okay.
Okay.
So they were doing that already from the 50s. Okay. Were there black musicians involved into that? Yes, but not as many. Unless you say Afro Latinos. Right? Dancing wise, everybody enjoyed that music because everybody enjoyed the certain beats that came with it. Like, I'm in the South now. Okay. And, I hang out with other veterans like myself.
Oh, I'm a veteran too.
Right. So, you know, whether they black, white, whatever, when I start playing like Ray Barretto, okay, or I start playing bomba, right? My black veteran brothers that are in their 70s, they start, we'll be hanging, drinking, and you see them, they just start bouncing. They're just like bobbing their heads like, yo, what music is it? I'm like, yo, it's bomba. This is like 1500s. They're like, yo, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. And they start getting up.
Mm.
Okay. It's the same thing. What a lot of people are missing, right, is the way New York City is built, the way we are as New Yorkers, is we had so much exchange of culture. Culturally, we were exchanging with each other left and right. Okay. So, because of the exchange of cultures as teenagers, as rebellious teenagers, right, it comes down to where it's not a creation by one, it's a creation by many.
Mhm.
Okay.
Let me
Just
just say
like,
something. Let me say something
mhm,
real bit.
go
Big
ahead.
dog. I see you, Profo. I see you, Jamel. I see you. Just give me a minute. I'm gonna let you guys chime in, and as soon as these guys are done, cool. Keep going, brother.
Yeah. So, it's like, like I talked to Charlie Rock. I talked to many others. Okay. I used to talk to Blackie from the Skulls, DSR. I used to have conversations with him. I lost contact with him. He's really nowhere to be found. You know, I have convos with my brothers from the Black Falcons that were on Tremont. Chingalings, I wasn't too. I didn't hold any type of friendship with Chingalings because I knew what the hell they were about. But you know, because we have this exchange of culture, right? Like, I could ask you, what is Arokon Gandule, right? Most of those that are older than me or within my age group, and probably and more or less you already know that's rice and peas, right? If I say, yo, you know, come to the house, man, I'm cooking up benni. Most black New Yorkers know what the fuck a benni. I mean, sorry for the language.
Watch it.
Yeah. Most brothers know what the hell a benni is. Right? It's that exchange of culture that we had because nobody really knew we spoke Spanish unless you came to the house. Why? Because there's a history of racism towards Puerto Ricans. Okay? My family has been here since the early 1900s, and I could date my family back before 1920 here in New York, right? From the island. And the rest of my family came to the city based off of Operation Bootstrap when the U.S. government was pulling everybody out of the island and the government was doing their mess against those on the island. Okay, so I'm multi-generational here, right? And I was never brought up to hate anybody, to be we did like that whole racism stuff was never in my family, because in my family we from dark skin to light skin, and I could count how many of us are light skin. The rest of my family's dark skin Puerto Ricans, and even growing up as a kid, okay, being one of the light ones and my older brothers being the dark ones, right? Because we didn't speak Spanish like that. Oh, you ain't Puerto Rican enough because you don't speak Spanish. And then we go to the brothers. Oh, you ain't black enough because you ain't dark like us. This is the nonsense that we dealt with in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah, let me let somebody else get in real quick, big dog. Hang out for a minute.
Yeah.
Profo.
Yo.
Welcome, bro. What's up, man?
What's up?
What are you thinking about? What's your thoughts?
Once I heard Asian and not from New York, I just had to jump on.
Okay, do you think?
Because I mean, I like, is mostly everyone here from New York?
Yeah.
Everyone in this chat, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing is, I'm probably the youngest guy, right? I'm 49. So I'm like the youngest, right? So I have a certain perspective. First, I want to address the whole thing because I just came in late. So excuse me, gentlemen. One, like with Isaiah, like a lot of people use FBA. So when I talk about anything, I say, if you're a Tariq Nasheed follower, like, I think it's more of that than anything else, because I just watched Rockness Monster from Boot Camp Clip from Brooklyn, right? Down with the Helter Skelter. And he was talking to Talib Kweli. In the video, he talked to Talib Kweli, and even Gat, that was at the My Expert Opinion show. Gat, one of the co-hosts with Math, didn't know what FBA was. And he said he talked to Gat saying that he didn't know what FBA was. Like Gat telling Rockness Monster. And it was kind of like interesting because, like, people that, go with the FBA doesn't necessarily follow Tariq Nasheed. They just identify as, foundational Black American. And so I get it. I'm with that. Like, I don't look at it as a group that's like, that's against everyone, because not everyone has the same philosophy. It's just a term that, that they feel more comfortable with than African American. Fair enough. You know what I'm saying? I ride with it. It's just more of like, if you're a Tariq Nasheed follower, then that's why I'm kind of like, okay, you're going to use the derogatory terms such as tether and stuff like that. So I just want to address
the definition of it.
Yeah, and yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So basically, listen, I don't have nothing. FBA, I do. I have listened to Tariq Nasheed. Okay,
Mhm.
I ain't gonna lie. I've listened to him, and I feel like he is a brother who is trying to accomplish things in the black community. Okay, we don't have too many leaders out there no more. You know, in our community. I'm not saying he's a leader, but I'm saying the stuff that he espouses. You know, the stuff that he espouses is positive for black people. You know, Tether is just another way of saying people who are not of black American descent, black American descent
Yeah, but
are
But
going
that's not
against
the
it.
definition of a tether.
No, 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 no. That's how he uses it. How
Okay,
he
so how
uses
he
it.
uses it is wrong because the actual definition of tether is like if you're tying down a boat
Okay, well, that's not how he uses it. He uses it in the terms of
in a derogatory
somebody.
term.
No, no.
That's what
But
he's
it
using
means
it as.
something. No, but he means something by it. When he means tether, he means somebody who is latching on to Black American culture, who's trying to undermine our, our stuff that we trying to do. And we trying to get
Okay.
reparations, and we trying to get certain laws passed, and we trying to get certain things done. If you're not for us, you're against us.
So
That's
I'm
So
all
not
he's
how do
saying.
against.
you
That's
how
what
do
I'm saying.
you how do
I'm not
you
against that. I'm with that.
but
That's
how do
cool. You
you
know what I mean?
how do you go
I'm
against
not saying
so
y'all.
so
I'm not saying
so
y'all.
this is my
Hold on.
thing. Yeah.
I'm not saying y'all. I'm not saying y'all, but there's a lot of people in the communities that we're talking about that are like doing things that are against what we're trying to accomplish. Like, okay, like in the Puerto Rican community, y'all are stick together. Y'all have different things, organizations that y'all have that y'all don't want to, y'all don't want people to come in there and messing up what y'all trying to do. You have organizations within the Jamaican community that, y'all trying to accomplish things for your people. So for us, we are trying to accomplish certain things. We don't want nobody in our midst that's going to mess that up. Because if you're doing that, then you're not helping us. It's like you're
All
trying
right.
to hurt
So
us or
my question
undermine
is
us.
this, right? What Puerto Rican organizations?
Any. I don't. It's
Which
not one
ones?
particular.
Which ones?
Any. Whatever. I mean,
Because
I'm in the
saying
Bronx.
any or whatever
I'm
is a
in the
blanket
Bronx.
statement. I
Listen,
understand it.
brother. I'm in the Bronx. I was born and raised here. I'm still in the Bronx. You down south? I'm here. There's a
Okay.
lot of Puerto Rican organizations in the Bronx that's strictly for Puerto Ricans and Latinos. Do you understand me? Now, I listen to everything you said, and I respect that. But I'm still here. I'm still here living it. Okay, I
Yeah,
used to
and I'm
work at.
only
I used to
5
work.
years removed
I
from
used
New
to work.
York.
I used to work at the district attorney office, the Bronx district attorney office. Okay, brother,
Yeah.
for 3 years. Okay, I used to work in many different spots here in the Bronx. I see how people. I'm not saying you, but in the Latino community operate. They are very clandestine. They stick together. They're gonna do things that they gotta do for their community. I can't give you one particular organization, but I can tell you one thing: they ain't gonna let no black person in there fucking that up. Okay, excuse my expression. They're not gonna let no black person in there messing up what they trying to do.
Well, it's
Okay,
not any black person. It is they're not going to let anybody who's going to come and
exactly,
mess up what they work. So
exactly. That's
it's
a tether.
dissolved.
That's a tether.
No, it's not. That's not what a tether is.
That's
That's
what a
not what
tether
a tether
is.
is.
All right, hold on,
Because
hold on.
every community has something that's always going to be put forth to for their own community, right? This is something that I've been on other podcasts saying, hey, the black community got to do this. Black community got to start doing this. Whatever happened, whatever's going on the West Coast, right, is not New York City. Okay? I'm born and raised in the South Bronx, right? I've only been out of New York for the past 5 years. Okay? So that whole thing of, yeah, I'm still in the Bronx, I'm born, yeah, so am I. Just because I'm only 5 years removed, don't take off this bomber off me.
All
Right?
right.
The
Listen,
X
big
is gonna
dog.
be on me to the day I die.
Big dog. Let me do this.
Yeah.
There's somebody else that wants to get in. Let me let Jamal speak.
Go ahead.
Profo, stay here. I can only have 6 in, so will one of you guys step out for a minute
Hey
and then
Doc,
come back
I'm
in?
gone, man, cause I have to go. But listen, it's nice talking
Okay.
to y'all.
All right, man.
All right.
All right. So Jamal, go ahead and share. Andrina, go ahead and click the link.
Yo,
Jamal,
peace
go ahead and share.
everybody. Thank you, brother. Thank you, Doc, man. It's a pleasure to be on. Been trying to get with you for a minute. You came over to my show, so I appreciate, you even taking the time to really come out. And even Crazy Legs, he said he'll get with me when the time is right. Shout out to SLP in the chat. Shout out to Taheem, DJ Taheem in the chat. First of all, Elon Musk is technically an African American. So
True.
wait, and I'm gonna cook. I'm gonna cook for a second. So I just ask everybody to chill because I don't want to be interrupted because I'm on the highway and I'm gonna go, right?
Okay,
And shout out to the
go.
brother that was just on, the veteran that's living out of state. Now, you gave a lot of history, man. So I just want to keep my thoughts and I want to cook real quick.
Go ahead,
I
brother.
am a foundational Black American, right? And I did like when Tariq Nasheed. Now, first of all, I don't get along with Tariq Nasheed because I think he is messing with something that I take very valuable, and that is hip hop, right?
Yeah.
But when he came with the idea of having a label for ourselves, and the reason I started my rhetoric, my dialogue with technically Elon Musk is the African American. We there has to be some type of group for us so that we can. And here's the reason why: most people can spend their dollar within their community a few times before it goes out. If we don't have an identification of ourselves, it's harder to do that, right? So it's nothing wrong with looking out for your
that's not
ethnicity, and saying,
your
okay, we
community.
have to,
Yeah, your community.
yeah, your community, and being like, you know what, we have to look out for each other so we can become economically strong. So that is why I was in agreement with the idea of foundational Black America. Not so much the politics of what else is going on with the ADOS and all of this other stuff. I'm not interested in that, and I'm not interested in him. And I know he doesn't really. He's saying, "Yo, I'm not a leader." Okay, that's cool. But I watched from the moment you tried to use hip hop, right? I checked out your album. It was trash, bro. It was
It
trash.
was.
You just really went up there on some old pimp iceberg slim over music type stuff. It was really nasty work. And I said, whoa, this is not even hip hop, bro. This is so what did you whether you was on the West Coast or any coast, anywhere in America, this is
It was trash.
so you
Yo,
even
he was on
talking.
MTV. The first time I saw him was an
1
MTV
second, bro.
Made.
1
Oh,
second,
my
bro.
bad. Yeah.
So for you to even open your mouth on this topic, I felt disrespected because now I want to say this last part because I don't want to be long-winded, right? But this is the part I want everyone to consider. You can't take isolated incidents of someone dancing and say, hey, we did this dance first. So that proves that this hip hop started here, right?
Yeah.
This person said his words this way. So that proves hip hop started here. No, everyone, and I've never heard anyone mention this. The ether that the Gnostics believe, that hold everything is made out of one energy, is just a different frequency, right? Most of you have heard this before. Hip hop was something that was created because of a certain time on this earth, right? So the spirit of hip hop, I don't care what separate elements you take, whether it's the dance, whether it's the fashion, it was created because of something that happened during that time in that region, right?
Yeah.
And the region, the time was the 70s, early 70s, and the region was the Bronx. And it could have, bro, check it out. It could have happened anywhere. It just didn't, right? The reason it didn't happen in South Carolina, right? And one of the reasons I'm going to say is because maybe the houses were so spread apart and maybe we had closer buildings and this. It was a lot of variables that went into the spirit of hip hop. But the spirit that connects everything together came out of economic
turmoil.
That's the two. Yes, you know, all that was going on. The things. So you got you have cause and effect. So because they was playing around with the with the economics back then it, you know, it caused other landlords. And you guys know the story, so I don't want to tell you something you know.
Yeah.
But I'm just bringing up certain things. It caused the landlords to do what they did with the burning of the house. Okay, that's going to have another effect now, right? And I just spoke about this morning. So when you had the gangs, and God bless, you know, it's crazy. I spoke about this a few hours ago. The gangs was different, and the brother had mentioned DSR. Check this out. I don't know DSR personally. The only reason I know that man is because I'm a fan of hip hop. That's the only reason I know that man that probably nobody else in hip hop is going to really appreciate, because I appreciate the gangs at the time, right? So you had the gangs at the time. You had he just said when we had our when he had our jams, everybody came, right? So my point is, it was a lot of different variables that created the spirit of hip hop. You just can't take dance and say, yo, they was doing that dance first. Bro, that's you can't do that, because whoever you pointed out was doing it first. And by the way, Dr. Cologne, you know I have brought this up before. You pointing out a dance they did in the 1920s, but I could tell you that the Brazilians was doing that dance in the 1400s. So what are we really talking about?
And not even that, right? So I don't know if you ever looked up bomba dancing, right? Out of the Caribbean, Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
Those you could see similar moves, right?
You can
within what B-boys are doing. Okay. You look at what the second generation B-boys were doing, right? Which is, you know, I look at the second generation starting from 1980. Okay. You know, that's Rocksteady, New York City Breakers and everything. But you would see in the late 70s a lot of mambo style, you know, around the world. Other moves
exactly
that were being incorporated, because nobody hit the floor till 75.
And shout out to Bat, man. And I want Bat. If anybody knows Bat, if anybody could get him on a platform again, he was doing his thing for a second out here. But there's a few people that really need the mic a little bit more. And they are true pioneers within hip hop. And I don't want their name to go out. You know, Bat may never get the Hall of Fame
I can tell
jersey.
you one right now who's no longer with us, and that's Trace from TBB.
Trace, yep.
He's no longer with us, and he would be screaming at everybody over this right now. Like if you knew Trace the way I knew Trace, and you know, besides that, he was a b-boy, he was a writer, he was also a biker. Okay, Trace would be like ready to headhunt people over this. Like literally, like, oh, you live over there? I'll be right at your door in a couple of days.
Yeah, I'm gonna step down. But I just want to say I'm highly frustrated that they chose this as the scapegoat to get reparations or whatever they after, right? Because it's first of all, I'm born in the Bronx Lincoln Hospital, right? Raised in Mount Vernon, yes, which is right on the border there, but I'm born here and nobody can take that away from me, right? So it's like,
the old Lincoln.
The old Lincoln.
The old Lincoln. I was born in 77 during the blackout, bro. July 77, I was born.
Yeah, you were still at the old Lincoln Hospital before they actually destroyed it and
this
built
is what
a new
I'm
one,
saying,
and it's still messed up.
And it's still messed up. You're not lying about that. So to see this guy from God knows where, Detroit, kind of come in and just use hip hop because it's a way for him to make his next meal. Okay, your first film was kind of dope, bro. I'm not gonna lie. Hidden Colors was a classic, but you're only as good as your last maneuver, right? So what do you do next? Oh, I got something. I'm gonna attack hip hop, and you're gonna get Lord Jamar, who's, you know, that's my brother. We from the same Westchester, but bro, I don't agree with none of this stuff you're saying. If you was truly hip hop, you would know, like, it's common sense that you cannot have a Bronx back then without Puerto Ricans, bro. So what are you talking about right now? So you're using word semantics. That's what you're doing, right? You saying, but
even with Lord Jamar, right? Because Trueborn Allah just dismissed him. He disowned him out of nature.
Oh, really?
You know, not just for this, but with the flat Earth stuff and everything else. Because being a god, you build off of math and science.
Okay.
Yeah. So you're debunking everything the Father taught you. for a paycheck.
For a pay. And so me and him haven't been eye to eye. We stopped kind of like talking to each other. And again, you gotta pay the rent. I can't pay it for you. But as
Yeah.
far as Tariq Nasheed using hip hop as for your next meal, bro, I'm not with it. I
Well,
just want to say I appreciate
it's not
all you
just
guys,
that.
man.
It's not just that he used hip hop, because even Sadat X is clowning the Tariq and FBAs right now. Okay, and I'm cracking up with what Sadat's doing, right? But his grift after this whole hip hop thing was Kamala's not black, Kamala's this, Kamala's that, vote for Trump, blah blah blah. But even though Kamala said, "Yo, we'll help with $20,000 to buy a home," right? If reparations comes on my desk, I'll sign it.
Mm-hmm.
She said all this,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now, I have my things about within politics, or I call it politricks, because that's what it is, right? But I have my reserves on politicians for the simple fact is being a veteran, which means you work in government, and you see the politricks that goes on, because guess what? There's an old World War I saying by a German. War is a continuation by politics of other means, right? So it's those like us who are in uniform or are in uniform that we're like, all right, what's this idiot gonna do now? That we got to get ready to go in and do what we do, and hopefully we don't come back in a body bag. So seeing that through Bush Sr., Clinton, Bush Jr., or through 4 presidents, I'm like, I already see the politics that goes on. But at the end of the day, Spike Lee has said it. MC Sand has even said, "Yo, we got our style from Puerto Ricans."
Yeah. Let me let Profo get in his thoughts, and then I'm gonna let Andrina come on in because she's been patiently waiting. So Profo, go ahead, bro.
Yo, so yeah, thank you so much, man, because it's true. Because I'm gonna touch on Tariq Nasheed real quick, and then I'm gonna touch on the West Coast perspective. I remember when he was on MTV Made, when that was a show that was like mentoring young kids, and he was trying to teach a white boy how to pimp, young kid how to pimp. That's the first time I saw him. So after that's the first time I saw him, and then I was like, then he started talking about hip hop, and it's like the whole thing is like I've been in the dance scene for like 34 years, and when did anyone ever care till like recently? That's my whole thing. As far as the West Coast part, so I if you guys know, I'm big on the history of just like hip hop dance period, not just breaking, not just like popping, but like even I asked the guys that went to the Union Square, and like, how did you guys come up with the Cabbage Patch? How did you guys come up with the Roger Rabbit? We're talking after post breaking. I still try to do my research on dance, period, right? So for instance, there's a few historians out here in the Bay Area, Tracy Barlow, shout out to Tracy Barlow, Demons in the Mind. These are the original what you guys would say poppers. We always call the strutters in the Bay Area. There's a black resurgence who actually danced for the Black Panthers, and they go back 1969. And even Tracy Barlow's like, yo, the robot was created in Fremont High School in Oakland this year. That's how back their research goes. That being said, and I'm pretty sure one of my mentors named Pop Tart, who's part of Demons in the Mind, originally from Fillmore, and there's the dance called the Fillmore that's from popping. Even he said, when hip hop came, I had to change it up. Because what we used to dance to was Earth, Wind, and Fire. We used to dance to Sly and the Family Stone. But when hip hop came, I had to change my name to Pop Tart because we never called it popping. And the whole thing is, even in the dance community, we have separate, like poppers don't dance to hip hop. They like to brand themselves funk styles because they know that none of them danced to the Mexican or Apache back in the day.
Yeah. There's more disco funk.
Yeah, that's straight up. Like, this is from the horse's mouth saying that. The only time that it became part of hip hop was when they all danced to like Nucleus and and Planet Rock. So that's from even within the, and this was established 20 years ago. This is not recent history, because they wanted to compete and they had to generalize it and they had to do the history. And there's some argument of, well, strutting and that boogaloo came from Oakland, and the guys from Stockton, Electric Boogaloos, copied them. That these are the debates, and this was 20 years ago. Yeah, Boogaloo,
If I could say
Sam, and
one
Skeeter
more,
Rabbit. Yeah, go for it.
yeah. So the other thing is, Lord Jamal, who are you to eliminate the elements of hip hop whenever you feel like it? I've seen
Okay.
him doing it,
Yeah, I saw that. I heard that, and
and this
I just put
and
my head down.
it pisses me whenever you lose in an argument. Well, first of all, dancing is not hip hop anyway, bro. That tells me you shouldn't be talking right then and there. Because if you're talking about lyricism, like I said before, lyricism came in like dead fourth, bro. What are you even talking about? Like, so you want to eliminate tagging, right? You don't want to put graffiti in it now, bro. You know how much the graffiti artists, how much attention, how much PR they was for hip hop, for you to
Mm-hmm.
try to disrespectfully. Shout out to Rules of Blue, okay? You talking about the Roxy, bro? You know how much PR they did for what you think hip hop is today?
Yep.
You know, it's disrespectful. But because you're losing the argument, graffiti artists are no longer hip hop. Dancers are no longer hip hop. So you really going to skip over the
The
foundation?
5 elements. Yeah.
Yeah, the hip hop elements of graffiti, dancing, and DJing only then come to the wordsmith and the lyricist and say, well, that's what people only care about. Bro, you don't deserve to have a conversation no more. I'm gonna get off the stage real quick, let y'all talk.
Yeah.
Let's
No.
do
So
this. Let me
yeah.
allow because she's been patient. I'm gonna
Andrina.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm ahead. I just want to state that the dance community has already labeled things to kind of like, so we can understand the history prior to anyone even in any of these debates, that don't even care about the dancers, that don't even care about Sasa, they don't care about Trixie, they just care about proving a point, yet then like breaking bread with them, saying what's up and supporting them, if that's the case. You know what I'm saying? So that's all I wanted to say. All right, y'all.
I
Have a great
appreciate you,
afternoon.
bro. All right,
Peace.
All
brother.
right, bro.
Great.
Before Jamel bounces out, I just want to say that I respect you for explaining where you're coming from as identifying as FBA. And here's the thing, I don't think any one of us has a problem with that analysis of wanting to be specific about your lineage and that this is a new term you want to use to describe yourself. If that was it, we wouldn't have a problem. But when you have so many people who are identifying with that term, and I want to say this to Isaiah White, if he's still, in listening, you may have your understanding of what that word tether means, but understand that there's a lot of people who are just using that term indiscriminately in a very mean-spirited way. As soon as they find out that your background is West Indian or Latino or whatever, oh, you a tether. So they're weaponizing that term against us. And when you have so many people that are behaving in that manner and it's consistent, you're gonna, when you see that name, you're gonna feel some kind of way. So based on the way you're explaining it, my analysis would be that that term FBA has become poison. It's become hijacked by people who are racist, by people who are xenophobic, by people who are hateful. So when we encounter that, we already, like you see those 3 letters, you already got your dukes up. You're already automatically on the defensive, and you're like, that's one of these people, coming from there. But there's nothing wrong. And I've always said for years, yes, Pan-Africanism, we do need to come together and build. But at the same time, African Americans have to distinguish the fact that they have their own unique cultures. And mind you, I said cultures, not culture, because African Americans have many distinct regional cultures. You do have to stand up and assert that and claim it. And unfortunately, there's so many people that don't claim that because they feel it's country, they feel it's backward. And I've gotten into it with African Americans talking about, we don't have no culture, they took our culture. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? You don't have a culture, you have cultures, plural. But there's a lot of people that have been miseducated about even their own heritage that don't know. And this goes across the board. So
right, let's let Andrina get in here. She's been patiently waiting. Andrina, welcome to the chat. Welcome to the dungeon.
Hey everyone, how's everyone doing? Thank you for having me.
Good.
Yes, well, to teacher, thanks for saying what you said. I was going to say some of that too. But you know what Isaiah White was saying about how we have our own organizations, our own groups. First off, the groups that we had, the organization groups, were never based on dominance and rhetoric. These foundations were made to help other Latinos. And as Latinos, we have always been united. It's just a natural grain that we have in us. And the way that other people look at it, if you look at it in that way to, like, oh, y'all stick together and y'all do this. But the way that we do it, there's no rhetoric involved. We never say we're Puerto Rican supremacist. We never say that we're supreme over any other, ethnicities or anything like that. And that's also to help other Latinos because we also needed help too. While we were helping other people in New York, in the Bronx, we needed help too. And that was often overlooked. So we needed to create our own organizations. And my family, they came from Puerto Rico to the Bronx, both sides of my family, and part of Operation Bootstrap, and also in the war archives. They needed us to do agriculture and things like that. But circling around back to hip hop, the dress, everything, we're in it all the way since day one. Okay. So the same way, if they want to say that Puerto Ricans migrated to the Bronx, we were, the United States is not that very old, but we were needed to be in the Bronx. We were, they flew us down there however way you want, imported us, whatever. But also African Americans also migrated from the South too. And we were there since the 1800s. Okay. So, people saying that we wore sandals, we wore this, we wore high waters and everything. Everybody was doing that too. It wasn't just us. It was a sign of the times. Whatever times that you were in is how you dressed. And people copied everybody. It's not just one group from another. Okay. So, and especially with the whole Avenue Peace meeting, that was in December of 1971, way before hip hop was, before hip hop was created. Who was Yellow Benji? He was Puerto Rican from the Ghetto Brothers. So that can't be deleted. But as far as the organizations and stuff, you can't find a group where we have condemned.
Well, that's why I asked which group. Name a group. Name the organization.
Andrina. Hello. Wow. We lost her. Andrina.
It's either the StreamYard messes up sometimes because it happens on other podcasts.
Oh, I'm here.
Okay, there you
Can
go.
you hear me?
Okay. Yeah.
I thought that I was able to. I got something that came in. I apologize for that. But the way that Big Dog put it together, he was correct. They changing the word tether, which basically means to anchor to something. We didn't anchor to nothing. A lot of what the America or the United States, because again, that's a new concept. A lot of what they have here has been taken from the Caribbean. Don't forget
Mhm.
that New Orleans and stuff was mandated, or in, Spanish and the French were in power. You got a lot of old Spanish buildings up in there. You can't erase any part of us.
Mhm.
But we gave a lot of flavor to hip hop, the fashion and stuff like that. Um, so we gave a lot of the African Americans, for an example. They want to say, what did y'all do? We marched with them too. We marched with them. We helped build
No, not
things.
all African Americans. Not all not all. Just the
Not
FBA.
all, but it's like they're forgetting that, yeah, there were Puerto Ricans being lynched in the South also.
Exactly. That's another thing that, yeah, thank you. Thank you. Is that big dog talking? Because it was
Yes,
so small.
yes.
And we were again, we were the first to be contacted. We're the reason why the term Indian exists, by the way. It's true because the documentation started back in the Caribbean before they wrote stuff over here.
Yeah.
We're the first nation's people, and that cannot be forgotten. Okay?
And what's missing out of that too is, Taino/Arawak.
Yep.
We were here on this land because it's already written by Ponce de Leon and de Soto that
Yep.
Arawak Tainos were predominantly from Central Florida all the way to Southern Georgia, to 12 tribes,
That's right. Absolutely.
otherwise known as Timucua,
Yes.
until
There
they
you
went to
go.
war against Spain and they lost.
Yep.
This was never Seminole. Florida was never Seminole land.
Nope.
Seminoles came in the late 1800s. So
That's
from
right.
1500s, Timucua was already labeled here by Spain. Timucua said, "Nah, we going to war with y'all."
Yep.
They lost.
Yep.
And then they
Yep.
took the woman, the Timucua tribe, which are Arawaks. They, took the women and children and gave them to the Muskegees and the other tribes that were up in the Panhandle because
Mhm.
they didn't want them around for the war.
Yep. That's right. That's right.
So
I think it's
ancestrally, we were here on the land too.
That's right. That's right. I mean, everything from cigar,
Mm-hmm.
SIKAR. That's cigar, man. When you puff on that cigar, just remember from the Arawak Taino.
When you're doing your barbecue.
That's barbacoa.
Barbacoa. Yep.
Yeah.
Barbacoa. And you know what? And that pork that y'all like too. Guess
It
what?
comes from us.
Columbus bought that. The horse was never indigenous to America. Where did that come from? Spain. And yes, we were the original cowboys, so don't even try with that stuff either, because that came from Spain.
Well,
Okay.
I think what
ancestrally,
this
I'm not going to say all
conversation,
of us. It's ancestrally.
Right. Exactly.
what the conversation eventually does, has us doing this. Now we start itemizing what everybody, and which is when it comes to hip hop, I refuse to start itemizing. They want to do this to try to cause us to break amongst ourselves. But
Mm-hmm.
the brother, I think his name is True Teacher that I'm talking about. He brought up a very interesting topic earlier. I didn't know a lot of my friends were even Jamaican until I graduated high school. I had been friends with these people since 3rd grade. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like, how you going to itemize? Who are you realistically? Who are you to say?
Well, can I just say something real quick? Look, when you hear us speaking like this, and I'm gonna address, my screen is so small. The one that just spoke, I apologize. Jamel. Yes, hello, Jamel. I understand where you're coming from, but we are defending ourselves. We didn't start this conversation itemizing things. This is in response to the itemization that the so-called FBA directs towards us. So for someone to say that and for us to be kept quiet and not to say our piece, that's not right. So we also have a right to defend ourselves. So when we defend ourselves, then it's called itemizing, and that's not fair. It's not fair.
No, it
say,
wasn't. My dialogue wasn't an attack to you, right?
I
It was.
understand.
So I stand as a hip hopper, New Yorker, hands down, right?
Yes.
So
Is where he's at.
there's so many
Where he's
people
at.
that did contribute to hip hop for them to come for whoever, right? Tariq Nasheed and Lord Jamal, because I am an FBA, but I don't believe in what he said. And for them to say Jamaicans never and contributed anything. Puerto Ricans never contributed anything. They was only, I mean, they contributed, but they was only there. Like it's word semantics that's so ridiculous. When the epitome of it, you would not have this unique thing. You would not have that. What you did is created a DVD that showed different isolated incidences. Hey, this started here. This started here, and most of those was fallacies, right?
No,
So
I'm gonna say it like this: it's revisionist history. You're revising history.
yes,
Okay.
I
I
agree.
had a conversation with on another podcast about this whole thing. It was like myself debating 8 brothers on this whole hip hop thing. None of them born in New York, right? They didn't even know half the history between blacks and Puerto Ricans. Okay, except the person who ran the podcast. And I brought it down like this, right? You know, y'all could agree with me if y'all want. You know, this is my opinion. This is how I feel about it, right? You have the Black Panthers, Young Lords, side by side, Rainbow Coalition, fighting for the same causes. Okay. It continued. Then, you know, gangs, you know, the gang era hit again in the late 80s, early 90s. That's gang politics. Take that out the equation. We really never had no problems with each other. This whole divisive talk, right, comes to the point where your closest ally, which is Puerto Ricans, out of Chicago, out of New York City, out of Jersey, Philly, Connecticut, you're causing a divisiveness that is going to come to a point where Puerto Ricans are going to say you're on your own. Okay. Now you got the West Coast crews, you know, Venezuelans, Mexicans, everybody else. They don't understand that in certain aspects, Puerto Ricans do keep them at bay from doing stupid stuff. Right. Which even the person who ran that podcast, he agreed to it. He was like, yo, if we lose Puerto Ricans on this, we don't have a middleman to stop any oncoming beef. If it was to come down into this racial war. You know,
So you
that's
make a
my
good
opinion.
point, true teacher. True teacher. Might I add? I thought from the beginning this was a psychological warfare. Listen, we all heard of MK
Yeah,
Ultra, and
yeah.
it is not a conspiracy theory. If you do believe it's a conspiracy theory, then just go ahead and Google declassified operations and projects. So we got different ones. Operation Mockingbird, which we're obviously going through right now, but the one in particular that I don't think has ever stopped is Operation MK Ultra and psychological warfare. And
No,
I do
psychological
believe
warfare is always going to stay. It's never going to leave. This is Psych 101, Psych Warfare 101.
this is Psych 101. So I asked the question to Tariq many a times. Who sent you, bro? Who sent you? You're not
He's
even from
okay. So
New York.
getting down to all those things, right? You know, like I said earlier, you know, that what I stated is my opinion on those matters. Okay. You know, you want to get rid of the middleman when you have the black community has beef with Mexicans, the black community got beef with Venezuelans, and Venezuelans are coming with their own gangs that are way beyond what we were doing. You know, you don't want to get rid of your closest ally because if you do, we're not in the middle of this no more.
Yeah, man.
Okay.
Listen,
And
I
that goes
got.
that goes deep and it goes bad. But when it comes to like Tariq and out of this, that's grifting, right? Grifting that comes from an organization called FAIR.
Yes.
Okay. Which FAIR was this way also. ADOS, if you look at Yvette Cornell's where she came from one of the organizations from FAIR. FAIR has been this anti-immigrant, anti-everything organization left and right.
Yeah.
FBA is a break off of ADOS.
White nationalist organization.
Yeah. Right. So what does a white nationalist do? Okay, well, we can't get these groups to go at each other because now there's governmental laws on this. Right. Now we're going to use those people to make, we'll get them a group, we get them an organization and let them do it because now they get, they could actually use the racism card. Right. And they ain't going to get in trouble for it.
But you see, this ain't nothing new. If we look at our history from the time,
it's all COINTELPRO.
Think of all the slave revolts that were unsuccessful because they had paid agents that ran back and told massa.
Mm-hmm.
Look at all the churches during the civil rights era. Well, first of all, even before that, look at how they took down Marcus Garvey and his movement. Look at how they infiltrated the black churches in the South during the civil rights era and had paid agents to tell the congregation, don't mess with those troublemakers from up north. Look at how they infiltrated the Black Panthers and I'm having a senior moment, the Young Lords. So this is something that they've always been doing, man. This is hundreds of years. This is a tactic that's hundreds of years old. So this is like when you see people like this, it's a Trojan horse. They send the devil to you wearing your own face. And because they look like you, you automatically let your guard down and let these people in, and they undermine your community. So, like
we've had that for centuries. That's centuries old. You're always going to use your own to go after your own.
Exactly. And there's always going to be, they talk about saying that
we could bring up Al Sharpton.
How you like that?
How do you owe 7 million plus in taxes and you ain't in jail?
They say that, like Tevas are like the non-African Americans that are going against reparations. Well, there's a lot of Black Americans, conservatives, who don't want, who talk against reparations too. So how come they not Tevas? So, the thing is, we have to.
Well, they got a different name for that. They're not going to call them Tethers. They're going to call them coons and sambos and all that other crap.
Like
it's like, people can't have a different opinion. This is not a utopia. You're not riding on unicorns. Everybody's going to have a different opinion on everything.
Exactly.
It's just to come to the table and come to an agreement on things. You have to sit down at the table, right? And, you got to have a give and take. Something that our government doesn't even do anymore.
And we gotta be aware of this stuff. I mean, come on, man. Like we all been saying, this is something that we all created together. And, to take a step back and look at what American cultures, the cultures of the Americas are.
Yeah.
It's a collaboration between all the people who were here.
Let me say something real quick, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Andrina, go ahead and click the link again. I don't know what happened. And Isaiah, go ahead and click the link again so you can get back in.
Doc, there's somebody I think was backstage, the guy that came on like really hot. He said he calmed down. He might be back there too, wanting to come back in. So I don't know if he's still there or not.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be Beyond Move.
Yeah, he left a message in the private. Yeah. Like he's gonna.
But it, like I said, like everybody asked me, why'd you serve in the military? One of my family's been serving in the U.S. military since World War I. The Spanish part of my fam from Spain served also in the Spanish Army in the Caribbean. So, it's in my bloodline to fight. Okay. And then, they'll start talking, well, the U.S. this and the U.S. that and da-da-da. In this country, I was like, have you been to that country? No. Then you don't know what you're talking about. Okay. I've been to like Sierra Leone in Africa. You do not want to be there.
Oh, yes.
Okay. That's a hot spot and a half. Right. Where they, and it goes back to the stories of the child soldiers that they were using children. There's a lot of things, and I say it like this. I'm out of the military. I'm retired. I'm done. I did my 20 plus. I love my country. I hate the government.
Yeah, that's a difference.
There's a difference. When I've been to third world countries and come back here and be like, yeah, we got problems, but it ain't problems like that over there.
Yeah.
Rather be here because I could deal with these problems here. Over there, you can't really deal with those problems because you'll get snatched up real quick. They don't play these games in those other countries. You're snatched up and you're gone. We got our problems here, but it's not like we can't fix our problems. We're just not doing it correctly. If you ain't gonna be able to fix the problems by protesting and this and that, there's another saying. Sometimes you got to join and change it from the inside.
Yeah.
Because that's how you're gonna make a change. And the other change is who's really ready to go to war in the street. Who's ready? Because 95% of this country isn't.
We're too distracted.
It's like, Senator Dianne Feinstein, before she passed, said years ago when they asked her, who are you afraid in this country? She said straight out, veterans. I'm not afraid of the population. I'm afraid of the veterans on what they're capable of doing.
Yeah.
And we're only 3% of the population. Not even that.
But I think, all these things are designed. I think all this confusion, I think it's orchestrated. And it's designed to keep everybody in their feelings and that so that we don't really pay attention to the important things that we need to be focusing on.
Well,
if
it's
you
like
pay
this,
attention
right?
to what the truth teacher just said, right, and then you analyze the men, and I emphasize the word man and men for how that definition has changed, how that perception has changed over time. And I know I might touch on some really touchy subjects right now, but you can't even get an omelet without even breaking some eggs, right? So if we're going to get to it, we got to get to it. Even the gangs back then, I only could read, right? I'm fascinated. I watch 80 Blocks from Tiffany's, and that's how I know the names he's talking about. I wasn't there. I wasn't even I wasn't allowed to come outside. I'm 77, born in 70, so that tells you right now I wasn't
you were
there.
from Mount Vernon, so you wasn't down there.
But you act like my bro. I walk one block
Yeah,
on
I
241st.
understand that. I understand that, but it's like
You
it would
understand
be
what I'm
like
saying?
Lord
So,
Jamal's from doing a show. Lord Jamal, you wasn't down in Kelly Street. You weren't down on the boulevard. Your parents wouldn't allow you to be there.
but then that's the whole world. That's the whole world now we're talking about. So even using the word tether, as I'm listening to you talk, I said, well, if that's the case, everybody tethered off of New York. You understand?
Yeah.
And we allowed that graciously.
Well, this is one thing I said.
Happen.
This is one thing I said on another podcast when I was having this debate against five people, right? And I said, son, New York's biggest mistake was we didn't gatekeep it. Look at the trash that it became now.
Yo, look at for example, like go-go music in DC. The reason why it's still strong down there is because they kept it in the community. Going commercial was a blessing and a curse. It was a double-edged sword. Because, and this is why people are so confused over what hip-hop is, because when you say hip-hop, they think you mean rap music. And rap music was the element that the corporate media was able to capitalize on.
Thank you.
So when you
that's one of the whole big problems during that debate I was having. I was like, you focusing too much on the music, right? And I'll never take what Black Americans out of New York City did on the music wise, okay? But you can't take the culture away from what was created by many.
Exactly.
All right. So everything they kept going against me was, this song. There's like the first rap song was Rapper's Delight. I was like, not for us B-boys. For us B-boys, Rapper's Delight is disco. right? Oh, what's the first hip hop song then? I was like, you want to be really honest about this? Blondie's Rapture.
Maybe.
Because that incorporated some of the elements with Fab Five Freddy, right? It incorporated stuff that we were doing in the street, right?
Thank you.
What was in her videos, right? The graffiti,
Yeah.
you know, some of the robot moves, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. You had oh, I forgot which DJ it was that was there. Flash. Was it Flash? Was it Flash? Right? So it incorporated that. And what does she start doing halfway down the song? Halfway down her song, she starts rapping.
Yep.
Right? So as B-boys, we looked at that as that's it right there. We didn't look at Sugar Hill Gang Rappers Delight over a disco beat because guess what? Their video, there was no B-boys. In their video, people were dancing the hustle.
Yeah.
And who created the hustle?
Let me do this,
Black
guys.
Puerto Ricans created the hustle.
Listen, I need to do something. Andrina, just click the link. I need one of you guys to bow out gracefully for a minute because she wants to get in and say something. Isaiah, I want you to stay in. Dion, welcome back. Thank you for coming back.
And I apologize for getting stupid.
No problem. No problem.
Hey,
All right, so
hey, Doc.
click
Hey,
the link.
Doc.
You Dion?
I'll bow out, Doc. Can I just say my last minute, please?
Oh, okay. Nice meeting you, Dion.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yes,
You know,
I apologize for yelling at you.
No problem.
I get emotional about this.
I understand.
All right, go ahead, Jamal.
you know, again, thank you for having me up. I do want to talk to you behind the scenes. It was a pleasure building with everybody. I like how you guys are keeping it healthy. You understand it's a healthy dialogue. The last thing I want to say, you just brought up Fab Five Freddy. You just brought up Blondie, man. And if you ever been to my channel is the Poker Face Society podcast. Please come over. I did a whole series on this. And I shout out Ruza Blue. I give Fab Five Freddy his props and all the graffiti art, as many as I can. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Shout out to Scheme too, and all the dances that I can. Now, I just want to leave with this. Before Run DMC even was out there, before there was a world tour, the graffiti artists and the dancers, they had went on a world tour already. You understand? So again, this goes back to the PR work that these people did before what these young people call hip hop. You know, Doc just kind of told you that there's a difference between hip hop and rap music. And when the infiltrators came in and started to monetize off of the creation of that energy right there. But let me get down so you guys, I'm going to enjoy the show in the background. Thanks a lot for having me, man.
Peace. All right. Andrina, go ahead and click the link, Andrina. You can get in. Click the link. All right. So let me let Dion speak a little bit. Let him. He's been in the background waiting a little bit. So let me let him share a little bit.
First of all, Lorena and I send our love and Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year, bro.
If I get emotional about this, it's because I'm a 61-year-old man who's been in this thing for a while. And I get tired of arguments that don't make any sense. I understand where FBA, whatever that means, feels that the culture is being denied. It's being expropriated. No, not expropriated, being stolen. Because if it wasn't for African American people, America wouldn't exist because the American Revolution was won by African Americans. The first man to die for the American Revolution was a black man. The Civil War, you take anything. You can't take the African American from nothing. That includes heart surgery, that includes education. I mean, we can go on and on and on in time. But there comes a time when one has to be very honest when we talk about music. And we have to understand that the beauty of music is, as Truth says, everything comes from something. It's not monolithic. Everyone influences everyone. I come from a family of dancers on my mother's side. I'm of mixed race parentage. My mother's from Indonesia, right? My grandmother was that good of a dancer that she was selected to dance for the ballet Russe, but she wasn't allowed to because she came from a very wealthy, noble family. That killed her, but she allowed her daughter, because she had the money, to dance for Martha Graham. And Martha Graham, who openly acknowledged the African American influence and partnered up with Alvin Ailey. And my mother, one of my mother's students, after she danced for Martha Graham, she had a strong relationship with not Alvin Ailey, but the ballet from the Harlem Theater of Harlem. I forgot the name. Forgive me.
And Theater of Harlem.
Yes, my brother. And she danced, and she trained them, not them, but she danced with them. And Alvin A, one of her students was the great, what's her name? The great Eartha Kitt. What I'm trying to say is, we all come from something, and arts are beautiful. Now, Isaiah, I understand your passion. I really do. But here's the thing about it all. Okay? I'm saying it straight up with you. If we look at Dr. Cologne's documentary, he brings facts. The thing about Machito and Dizzy Gillespie is non-debatable. But there's a 1955 recording that I don't know if you ever heard of the great trumpeter Kenny Durham. And he's African American. You would call him an FBA. It's called Afro-Cuban. And Dr. Cologne, you need to present that. Oh, you never heard? Well, you should listen to it, brother. Kenny Durham, Afro-Cuban. And you will see, this is 1955, where he has the percussionist. I don't have his name. He's Cuban, but Tito Puente said he's the greatest cungalero that ever lived. But what's so fascinating about the album is all the horn players like Joe Henderson, all FBA guys that you would think of are, as Dr. Cologne talked about, and this is something that Lorena corrected me about when we talked about Clyde Stubblefield and his beat on James Brown's Turn Me Loose. And I first thought, nah, I don't agree with that. Then Lorena listened to it, and she said, nah, he's right. Because here's the thing. Puerto Ricans, and my wife is an Afro-Puerto Rican, bro. Okay?
Oh, okay.
This is a proud black Puerto Rican woman that can dance all those Latino dances.
I'm doing something like that.
And she could dance to freak. She could dance to spank. She could dance to Dougie, and all of them dances. She never denied who she is. Now, I know that there is colorism in the Puerto Rican community because she suffered from it. But she also suffered from the colorism of the African American community. They used to hate her because of her curly hair and her certain approaches to life. It exists on both sides. But to deny, and here's the thing, I'm just going to end it like this. The acceptance, as Dr. Cologne said, that Puerto Rican people are co-creators in no way negate the African American contribution to hip hop. It doesn't. And it's not just Puerto Ricans. Puerto Rican people have been here before the 1900s. We need to call them American citizens. Call them New Yorkers, bro. And that's it. And if you have anything that I can say that I am wrong with, please let me know. And again, I apologize for getting emotional.
I could add on to that. I could add on to some of the things you said.
Okay, go ahead.
You know, like Latin jazz is an industry term. Okay. Right. Now, coming from the islands, and I've done my heavy research on this. You know, my family grew up with Ray Barretto, Tito Puente, and all of them. You know, because my father's he's a Claremont boy. My father's a Claremont boy from the 50s and 60s. You know, it's what Puerto Ricans brought musically, like with the Harlem Hellfighters within the band. Okay, what they contributed. But there was also Puerto Ricans, dark-skinned Puerto Ricans that actually fought with Black Americans in the Harlem Hellfighters.
No question.
Right? You can't negate all of that. What was happening was because you had Puerto Ricans go to North Carolina to play jazz music, you had them come to New York, right? Now you having an exchange, again, cultural exchange on how people are playing their instruments, right? So you have old time jazz players. Okay, well, let's start adding these percussions in, right? Here on the mainland. And then you had those from the island saying, all right, we need to bring these horns in because the horns are making it louder and bring it back to the islands. All right. Again, cultural exchange.
Okay, but this
Everybody,
culture,
we exchange with each other.
right?
Right. So this is what things were happening and things were doing. Nobody ever spoke about, oh, we created this or we created that. It's, yo, we took some of this from y'all and y'all took some of this from us. We made this and boom, here it is.
That's hip hop, isn't it?
That's what it is.
What it is.
Okay.
Yeah,
But then
let's let
so
Andrina
then it's
let's let Andrina get
co-creation.
in.
Go ahead,
Let's let
Adriana.
Andrina get in.
Definitely. I'm waiting for you. Adriana, Happy New Year.
Hello, happy new year to you too. Thank you so much. I agree with everything, absolutely, with the Harlem Hellfighters and everything, and stuff like that. And those are facts. We borrowed from each other. It's just now that we're having to defend ourselves. And I addressed the part about Herc dressing like a hick, how people are now wanting to assume that he's a hick when back then that he was accepted or not accepted. He was the father of creating the breaks. You know what I mean? So they didn't say anything then, but he's still a part of hip hop's foundation. Um, Also wanted to mention the fact that, Puerto Ricans and Blacks, we stood together on the injustices. However, somehow all of the Puerto Rican contributions are being pushed to the side and they're being labeled as Black. So when you try to find our stuff in the history books, it's really hard to find.
That's
It's being slipped into Black
that's something
history.
that my father has said, and my father's close to 80 years old, said
Hmm.
Puerto Ricans have done a lot, but we're not given the
Absolutely.
rights to it.
Yep, and you can hardly find it. And what it is, it's so hard to find, and it's being slipped into Black history, or they say that it's almost like we're being exterminated. But when you go, like, in order to find stuff, you have to go into the African American stuff, like in the Black
Mhm.
arts, stuff like that. That's a lot of us in there, and that's what a lot of other Boricuas don't know about. So when we keep hearing the same thing play over and over and over again, like a broken record, like for an example, when we didn't know that one of the lead singers is a Puerto Rican, which I bought out, you know how many Boricuas said, whoa, wait a minute. You kidding me? I heard this song all my life and I'm just now finding
You
out that
talking
she's
to
a Boricua?
teenagers?
Yep,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's
Why
Herman
these
Santiago.
girls
He wrote the
falling
song. He
up.
was the original singer before Frankie Lyman came in. And
Yep,
then they went to
absolutely.
court, and the court, with all the documentation, said, it was
Yep.
Herman Santiago that wrote this song and was the original singer, but he lost the money out to appeals because of statute of limitations.
Yep. Very familiar with that. And Boyz II Men
Yeah.
paid homage to Herman Santiago and them too as well. And I got to pull that out.
Can I just
But
say something real quick? I'm listening to everybody. I just want to say something. All right.
sure.
So basically, how this whole conversation start? It didn't start with FBA, man. This whole conversation started with Fat Joe, where Fat Joe made a statement with 50-50. He's the one that started itemizing
No.
hip hop.
Nah,
But who jumped on the
this was
bandwagon
already
on
way
that? Who jumped
before.
on
It
the
was already
bandwagon
way
with that?
before in effect.
It was Lord.
Before
It was
Fat Joe and
Lord.
Buster said
It
what
was
they
Lord
said.
Jamar.
This
Who?
was
Okay,
already.
but
This
what I'm saying is who in the Black American community, either South, North, East, or West, stated anything about Puerto Ricans not being a part of hip hop. We
We're
That's
always
going in
Tariq.
paid
two different
homage. Hold on,
directions, Isaiah.
hold on. We
And your
always
question
paid
is weird.
we always
Hold on.
paid homage to our Puerto Rican brothers in hip hop. Always. We never took nothing away from y'all and what y'all contributed. Okay, never.
No.
Yeah, but
Okay.
that's again
So
what we
the
know in New
question.
York,
Go ahead.
right?
Can I?
Okay.
The whole thing stems from when Tariq started this 2 years ago. or a little bit more than 2 years
No,
ago.
no,
Because
no,
even
no,
I've been
no.
battling
No,
this
it
for
didn't.
over
No,
2
it didn't, my
years.
brother.
Yes,
It
it did.
started way before. No, no, my brother.
Yes, it
Hold
did.
on. Hold on.
Because
No,
I've
it
never
didn't.
had
Isaiah,
these
you asked the
conversations
question.
outside of
Who
New
No, no,
York
but I'm
started the
Clubhouse.
telling you,
question,
this
right?
started way before that. This
What was the
started way
question,
before that.
Isaiah?
Okay,
Can I
listen.
ask something? Can I
No,
ask
Okay,
you something?
tell
Because
me when it
we're
started.
not seeing the obvious here. Isaiah, you had a question, right? You said somebody started this conversation. So let
yes.
me just streamline this. What was the specific question? Let's start with that. And let's just hear what you got to say. What was
Okay,
the
okay,
specific?
okay,
How did it
okay.
get
Listen.
started? What was verbatim? What did he say? And who said it?
First of all, I'm trying to ask y'all, right? And stop with Tariq. Tariq didn't start this conversation.
I
Even
didn't ask
before,
about
no,
Tariq.
hold on, stop. Let me talk. Let me finish.
I
I've listened
am.
to all your talk. Let me
You're
say
not answering
something
the
right
question.
now.
Okay.
Can I talk? Can I say something?
Hold
Sure.
on,
This
guys.
conversation started way before Tariq came on the scene, started talking about hip hop. Started
Who
way
started
before.
it? Who?
Puerto Ricans started that. Puerto
No.
Ricans
Which
started,
one? Which
No, we
one?
didn't. No,
Which
we
different
one?
didn't.
Puerto
Hold on.
Ricans started that.
Okay,
Hold on,
hold
let me
on.
finish.
Listen, listen,
Which one?
listen,
Hold on.
What was
listen,
said?
listen, listen,
Y'all
listen.
not let me talk, man.
Everybody, I need your mics off. Turn your mics off. Do me a favor. We're not gonna get anywhere if we're doing this. Just listen. And then I'm
I'm
gonna
listening
let
to you guys.
Isaiah finish, and then I'm gonna let Andrina jump in. Nobody else jump in,
Please,
please,
can I
please,
come in
please,
afterwards, please?
please. No, you put your mic on mute. Put your mic on
Okay,
mute.
brother. I
Yeah.
got it.
So listen, the conversation started. This whole conversation started when Vlad interviewed Lord Jamar and asked him about Eminem and who were guests. He went on a rant about Eminem, and then not too long after that, Grandmaster Caz was interviewed on Vlad, and he was asked, "Did you hear what Lord Jamar said about the people who are considered guests in the House of Hip Hop?" And then Grandmaster Caz jumps in and he said, "No, I didn't hear that." And he told him, he said, "Wow, okay." And then Grandmaster Caz went in and he said, "Who's a guest?" And so Vlad asked him, "Who is a guest?" He said, "Anybody that's not us." And then he said, "Even Latinos, there was only one or two." So it was not a Puerto Rican who started this conversation. It was Lord Jamar and then Grandmaster Caz, and then Joe gets on because now it's all on Twitter and everywhere. Now he's defending himself and he's saying, "Who are these people that are all of a sudden saying we had nothing to do with this? We're guests in the house." That's where it started. Lord Jamar and Grandmaster Caz. They
Okay,
started this.
okay.
Go.
Can I talk now?
Yes, and then
Okay,
Andrina. Yes.
okay. Now, all right. I hear you, Doc. I hear what you're saying. I remember that. Now, I remember seeing um stuff from way long time ago where Puerto Ricans individually came on different interviews saying they feel left out. And this is way before Grandmaster Cash. This is way before Lord Jamar saying anything about hip hop. Okay, this is before they even said anything, or even Tariq. This what I noticed was something a long time ago. I say like early 2000s, late 90s. They were talking about this. So this has been brewing for a long time in the Puerto Rican community in terms of hip hop. They've been feeling, I'm not saying y'all, I'm talking about as a whole. Different people in the industry felt left out for a long time for reasons I don't know, because we never said nothing about that. Before this conversation came about, nobody in the hip hop community that's black ever saying anything about Puerto Ricans involvement and what they contributed to hip hop. Never. This never happened. This has been brewing on for a long time, even before all those people started talking. So this has been brewing. It's been brewing, and now it's coming to head with all this different other stuff coming about. That's all I got to say. And I remember because I see these interviews from different Puerto Ricans here and there, making shots and saying they feel left out. Nobody's recognizing them and stuff like that. That's what I remember. And this is before Lord Jamal or even Grandmaster Cash or Tariq said anything about this. Now, you may not know, but I've seen it, and I do my research just like you, Doc. And I've seen interviews with Puerto Ricans saying they're not getting their just recognition. So y'all can
Because
take
they
it from
were.
there. That's all I got to say.
All right.
Because they were.
Let Andrina speak. And
Okay, I
then,
just want to say something real quick.
okay, go ahead.
I,
The fact of the matter is that the corporate media did exclude Latinos. Okay,
That's not us, though. That's not us. That's the corporate. That's not us.
Listen, that's what I'm saying. I'm not blaming African Americans for that. I'm
Or
pointing
FBA.
out Black American, FBA, I'll give you that respect, however you want to put it. That was the corporate media that did that.
Exactly.
If you didn't conform to their image of what they thought, you didn't get put on. Even if you was Black American and you didn't fit a certain image or you wasn't pushing a certain whatever, you didn't get put on. So there's a lot of people, if we were going to tell this whole story, there's a lot of people that don't get their credit, both Black, West Indian, and Latino.
Correct.
So that's what it is. So when you see those Puerto Ricans and they're talking about we left out, they're not lying. They're not blaming Black people for that.
No, they blaming the industry.
They're blaming the industry. You understand?
Yeah, I understand. I definitely understand. Yeah.
Listen, guys. Listen. Hold on 1 second. Let me let Andrina go, and then I got 15 minutes because I got to do something at 5 o'clock. So I'm gonna give 15 minutes. All right, Andrina, go ahead. Speak your piece, please.
thank you. Rightfully so, should we be saying, where are the Puerto Ricans or where is our credit? There's nothing wrong with that. The same way that our Black brothers and sisters do, correct? But when you look at music, you see our Black brothers and sisters. We have been on purpose deleted, erased, and hidden. And I stand by that because whenever I say something like that, receipts come later. For example, you have DJ Ivan Doc Rodriguez. I have a couple videos out on him. He commented on some of my videos. He asked to have his hands shown in a video because he is the mixer, the engineer, the producer. You know that he was denied. He was denied to have his hands shown because his hands were too light. So those are some of the secrets. Juan Tisol, a lot of his pictures were darkened on purpose. This is all documented. But it's okay for us to ask, where are our, where's our acknowledgement? Because just like DJ Charlie Chase, he's been pushed to the back of the room as a DJ. It's written in the book if you read it. So for some reason, Puerto Ricans have been erased, hidden, pushed to the side for some reason. Okay. So it's okay for us to ask for our.
I like to build off on that.
Pardon?
I said I like to build off on that, what you just said.
Yes, and let me just also say that boy, I was going to say something I forgot. My thought. It's okay to ask for our contributions. And also, even back then we have been doing things together, and for some reason it's always been pushed to the side. But as far as there goes my thought, as far as record label executives go, there's always been Black executive label owners. This thing when they say they don't know how to market Puerto Ricans, they don't know how to market Latinos, I call BS on that. You know why? Because we still had a stamp here in the radio. It shouldn't just be for hip hop. Okay. So I feel that it's not because they didn't know how to market us. It's because they didn't want to share the spotlight. See, this is stuff that people are afraid to talk about. And I just want to get right to it. I don't want to candy coat it. And it's not to be mean. It's to have the conversation. You know what I'm saying? So for me, and I respect the question, Isaiah, that you say that, I don't know why we're having this conversation now and this and that. We don't try to be in the spotlight. We share and we contribute, and we're not known to go me. Oh, look at me. Look at I done this. But it's forcing us to have this conversation now, and it's being twisted and to say, oh, look at the Puerto Ricans. They want hip hop, because we never say that we created hip hop. Were we there? Yes. Did we contribute? Yes. Did we create? Yes. We did it all together at the same time. organically. So there was a lot of black label artists, or when they say, oh yeah, the white man owns hip hop. No, they don't. It's anybody who wants that money, who's got the money. It's not just white people. Got to stop that. And no white Puerto Rican, no black Puerto Rican. It's Puerto Ricans, period.
Absolutely.
All right, let me let Dion go, and then I'm gonna let Big Dog go. I'm gonna let Truth go. I'm gonna let Isaiah go, and then I'm gonna close out. We got 10 minutes.
Okay, thank you and blessings to all.
Thank you,
Take it
sis.
easy.
You're welcome, brother. Bye bye.
Y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Y'all hear me? Okay. First of all, I want to thank Andrina Casa because she's wonderful. I also want to say that I don't know if she's an independentista, but the founder of the Puerto Rican independence movement was an Afro-Puerto Rican by the name of Pedro Abiso Campos. So we understand this. This is very important because he, and I know maybe we're going off topic, forgive me, Dr. Colon, but I want to deal with this because often this comes down to racial issues. He was the one that organized the so-called white Puerto Ricans in the independence movement. And his subordinate, when he was in prison, was the national poet of Puerto Rico, and I think Adriana will know this, was a man I had the honor of meeting. His name was Don Juan Antonio, Comandante Don Juan Antonio Correger, who was white as snow. But when it came to Afro-Puerto Ricans or anything African, he embraced it. Saying that, let's get down to the facts. Let us get to the facts. You can't talk about the last poets and not talk about Felipe Luciano. He is an original. No, he was not the founding three. But in 1968, he took over after David. I had an argument with True Savior on it, and he could not argue that. And he's in a film that I want you all to watch. It's called Right On, and underneath it is the original last poet, and Felipe is the first to recite his poetry. You can't talk about DJ Mario and not talk about Tex Hollywood.
Yeah.
Simple as that. You can't talk about Africa Islam, who is half Puerto Rican, and not talk about Ed LaRock. This was done by Charlie Rock, who has differences with Dr. Cologne. And he was so bad. He was the 12th, if I'm correct, Zulu member of the Zulu Kings. But he was so bad, he had his own crew. That technically is an all Puerto Rican duo, right? Because the majority is. Not that I'm saying it makes a difference, right? You can't just leave Charlie Chase out of the conversation. And you can't talk about DJ Hollywood. And I'm going to end it right over here because I don't want to monopolize the time. You would agree, maybe Isaiah, the importance of DJ Hollywood, how important he was to hip hop, even though he's not regarded as a hip hopper or whatever he was. But when he was MCing, the man that was behind him MCing was considered by many, and it was Club 357. I don't know if you're old enough to know it. It's in Harlem.
Club 371?
Right? No, 371 perhaps it is. Forgive my memory, because I'm getting old, right? With DJ Junebug.
Yeah.
And
I heard
Junebug, I don't know if you ever, how old you are. I don't know if you ever danced.
No, I never been there because I'm too young, but I heard of it.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. It doesn't make a difference if you're there or not. But DJ Junebug, who danced the Fever, I never went. But my wife was there all the time and she knew Junebug. They said he was the dopest DJ that ever lived. Now, I'm just joking now. Hollywood, Junebug, Mario, Tech, Africa Islam, Ed LaRock. What I'm saying, it's been from the beginning, man. You can't talk about break dancing and not talk about TBB. It just is the fact that it is. And like I said, and I'll end it right now. Being Boricans being co-creators in no way negates the African American contributions to the music. Because Puerto Ricans have never denied they're African. There's some that do. but Puerto Ricans are African, bro. And my wife will tell you that if she was here, but she's not here at the moment, and she's darker than you, bro. Not that that makes a difference. What I'm trying to tell you,
A lot of
she's
Puerto
never
Ricans don't look at themselves as African, though. A lot of
Okay,
Puerto
no, no,
Ricans
no,
don't look
no,
at
no.
themselves as
Hold
African.
on, hold
Let's
on,
land the
because
plane.
that's
Let's land
something
the
I
else.
plane.
know.
Let's
maybe
land the
That
that's
is
plane. Let's
not.
land the plane. Let's land
maybe
the
that's
plane.
true, brother. But that's
Dion,
in
land the plane. Dion, land the plane.
all I got to
Land your
say with
plane.
you. I was going to deal with this Isaiah. You do this,
Because I want to
Isaiah.
get everybody in. So I want you to
No. I'm
so
gonna land this plane
okay.
right now.
So Isaiah, go ahead, share your
Okay.
final thoughts. Then
Okay.
Big Dog, and then Truth.
Okay.
I
Sorry
I
about
just
that.
want to say, I just want to say that I've heard everybody's, what everybody got to say. I respect what everybody got to say about the hip hop situation. We all played a part in it. We all played a role, and it's an exception. Okay, I still think, in my opinion, everybody has their own opinion. I still think, what I'm saying, it was the Black American community that spearheaded it. Okay, when I mean spearhead, we the ones that got the first vibe to it. Okay, our spirit, our attitude, our vernacular, everything about us is what started it. Now, was there Puerto Ricans and Jamaicans, everybody else around? Yes, everybody went on, the same vibe as we were. In order for it to be hip hop, that's the way it was. Even though we all danced together, it was us that started that vibe. In our community, it started that vibe in the Bronx. But like I said, others participated, others contributed to it. I don't think it's no co-creation. I just feel like it's heavy. I ain't gonna never take that away. A heavy Puerto Rican contribution, a heavy Jamaican contribution. I never take that away. But I will always say it was the Black American community. It's in the DNA. Our community spearheaded it, started it, but others contributed heavily. And I'm gonna always say that, and I'm gonna land my plane.
All right, land your plane, Big Dog, and then Truth Teacher. We got to go.
All right, no problem. Okay, so building off what Andrina has stated before, right? Even Charlie Chase has stated there were many Puerto Rican DJs, MCs before him. They just didn't get the spotlight. He got the spotlight. Okay, I've seen it, right? I've seen it on 149th and 3rd Avenue and all that, Cypress, St. Mary's, you name it. I've seen it there. When it comes to TBB, yes, they are the first rocking crew. Period. There is no ifs, ands, or buts to that. Right? There is no black rocking crew before TBB as a crew. And I'm saying as a crew, individuality, different. But as a crew, they are the first. Right?
Yes.
But they followed Charlie Chase. So they weren't in some view where I was. Okay? They weren't at spade parties and spade jams. They were following everywhere Charlie Chase went. Right? They were at Herc parties. They were at Charlie Chase. They were at Flash's parties. They were over there. Okay? Understand, we're still in the gang era. Okay? So even in the gang era, we were like real, how do you say it? Always looking over the shoulder if we were going to a jam that wasn't in our neighborhood. Because they were still crews setting people up. Right? Without the Ghetto Brothers, this ain't happening. Because the Ghetto Brothers broke the doors down for this. And let's be real about it. It opened up the doors for us to go over here, for us to go over there. It just basically opened up the doors where we didn't have to go to other neighborhoods flying our colors and be worried about being, getting jumped or getting into a scruff or, you did something. Now you got to go to my warlord. My warlord is going to go jump all over this and declare war. They're going to sit down and be like, guns, knives, bats, or we going hands? Which one is it? It opened up the doors. Not every gang was involved in this, but predominantly a lot of the gangs in the South Bronx was involved in this. This came from New York City gang culture.
That's true.
That's where it came from. And what was New York City gang culture? besides the north side of the Bronx with the Guineas and all them, was blacks and Puerto Ricans.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yes.
Fordham Road had the Fordham Baldies, you know, 187th and all that. That's Fordham Baldy area. Okay, the Ducky Boys, they from Allerton Avenue. And yes, the Ducky Boys is a real gang.
It's a real
If you
gang.
watch the movie The
Oh,
Warriors, the Wanderers, it was a real gang. They're from Allerton Avenue. They were a real gang. You know, the movie, you know, put them as being around the 1-9 train because, you know, everybody knows Riverdale, Kingsbridge area at that time by the 1 and 9 was predominantly a heavy Irish neighborhood.
Yeah.
But the Ducky Boys was from Allenton, White Plains Road. That's their area, was Italian and Irish. They were a real gang. You know, so they weren't a part of this, right? But those of us who were from Tremont, and I say Tremont because I really don't count Fordham Road as starting the South Bronx, right? I call Tremont Ave all the way down, right? Whether it's, you know, you're going into Mott Haven or you're going into Songview, the southeast section of the Bronx, you got Hunts Point, you got Southern Boulevard, right? You got Cypress, you got Brook, you got Jackson Ave. You know, I could name all the freaking spots, right? Was the majority of the minority in the South Bronx was Puerto Ricans. And even though we were still undercounted by 25%, under the New York census, they undercounted us. And they admitted to this.
Respect, brother. Land your plane, bro.
Right.
I gotta go.
And at the end of the day,
I gotta go.
you know, I'm sorry, you know, it just brings me up when something that I grew up in, took a part in, bled in, you know, had my knuckle fights in and everything. That's gonna, you know, an outsider's gonna try to tell me what the hell my city did and what the hell we were doing.
Yeah.
That's what bothers me the most. Everything
All right,
else, I don't care about that. But I care about my history, our history, whether Black and Puerto Rican history together. Because we did our mistake, and this is what Hollywood said from the Savage Skulls, right? Hollywood is a brother. He wasn't Puerto Rican. He's a brother. He said, Whitey ain't coming down here living in the effed up apartments. He ain't coming down here living with no heat and everything. We fighting each other. We supposed to be fighting Whitey. That was our biggest mistake we ever did in the 60s and 70s, was not fight the white man, except fight each other.
Yes.
That was our mistakes.
All right. True teacher. Last thoughts, quick. And then I'm gonna close and we gotta go. I gotta run.
See you later, Claude. I'm sick right now, man. It's
right,
catching
man.
up to me right now, man. Take it easy. Peace,
All right,
y'all.
brother. We'll talk.
I
Grace and
think
peace.
this was a great build, and I think we need to have more discussions like this, you know, where we're talking with each other and not at each other. But, you know, the bottom line here is that however you want to slice it, like I said in our previous live last week, even if you want to say, okay, this is Black culture, whatever, to me, I don't argue that point. Because the fact of the matter is, like I said in the first live, and I hope you keep the first one up, you know, because we covered some good stuff in that. This was something that sparked off. It was a subculture, a youth subculture. And we created it together. So if you acknowledge the fact that we made strong contributions, understand that this thing that we call hip hop now was an evolutionary process. So if you are contributing to something in its evolutionary process, then you are a co-creator of the finished product. Just like if you baking a cake and you bring the flour, I bring the sugar, somebody else brings the yeast, somebody else brings the water, and you mix it up. Well, when that cake is baked, who made the cake? We all did. So that in no way, shape, or form eradicates African Americans from the equation, because you can't. You cannot take them out of the equation. It's like trying to take the sugar out of a cake when it's already baked. So I don't understand the paranoia, because everybody knows You cannot have hip hop without Black Americans. They're central. They're essential. But what we're saying is respect the fact that we were there too and we helped in this process. And we're not, to state that doesn't mean we're trying to step on anybody's back or diminish them. We're just saying, hey, that's part of our history too. So yeah, you can say that it's Black American culture, but guess what? That's what we grew up in. We lived it. We helped it. So it belongs to us just as much as it does to you. We're part of the family too, and you can't kick us out and tell us we was guests. We all did this together. So, there's people from the outside that are causing division and disrespect. And if you even look in the chat here right now, you have people who calling themselves SBA that are even being very disrespectful to us Puerto Ricans and Caribbean, West Indians. And this is what I'm saying. The problem is we don't have a gripe with you wanting to use a term to define your lineage, but when it's being weaponized against us, then we have to respond, and we're reacting. We're reacting to that negativity that's coming towards us.
I agree.
Yeah, I gotta run, guys. Listen, let me just thank you. I gotta run, but listen, let me shout out Saint Ephraim 128. Just became a new member to the channel. Thank you so much, brother, for your support. I want to shout out also Pastor Crespo. He has a great YouTube channel called Bronx Hip Hop History Project.
Yes.
And he does a lot of great interviews. So please support him. Thank you, Pastor Crespo, for the support. And listen, thank you guys. I'm so sorry. I just gotta run. Let's do this again. This has really been good, and I want to do this again.
We need to do more of these. Yeah.
Grace and peace.
Yeah, we definitely
Isaiah. God bless you, bro.
God bless you too, Doc.
Good talking with you, man, and all the rest of you guys. The chat. Thank you. We'll talk soon. Peace.
Got it.